darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. 'Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good. I've been waiting for the one forever. Finally I got you, baby, here in my heart. When I'm with you I feel so much better, oh yeah. Before you I was just a shell, so stuck in the dark. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. 'Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good. Follow your heart, baby, don't be shy. Just follow yours and I'll follow mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. 'Cause you know, and I know, we're onto something good. You know, and I know, we got something good. Something good. Life goes up and it goes down. I know my mom taught me that. I figured why we fool around so little, and we keep track of time, being so serious. Idiots thinking it will matter, keep me company downtown before the clock runs out. Sun is shining, but the rain is welcome too. Friends are nearby, don't need another view. Time is not on my mind, but then it's you. Oh, I love it when the love comes around, and then I remember all things must pass. But I'm not gonna wake up, wake up. I'm not ready, let me have another day. Don't wake up, wake up. Keep it steady, 'cause I'm happy, I'm not gonna wake up. No, no, not yet, whoa. No, not yet, whoa. No, no, not yet, whoa. I'm afraid I'll end up nowhere. They keep saying I'll be fine, but how you know that I'll be there when it feels like I'm lying every time someone asks how it goes, and I save the details that actually mean something. Sun is shining, but the rain is welcome too. Friends are nearby, don't need another view. Time is not on my mind, but then it's you. Oh, I love it when the love comes around, and then I remember all things must pass.
All right, good evening, everybody. We are back for yet another episode of Beyond the Doll. Welcome, everybody. Let me change screens for you all. Hold on one second here. Hello. Hello, everybody. It's been a while. Think, what, 2-3 weeks now? I think maybe 3 weeks since the last episode of Beyond the Doll. But today's episode is episode 14 of Beyond the Doll. As always, I am your host, Shizusan, and my beautiful assistant that's helping me out today is the very lovely Moment in Tea, my old yet new addition to my collection, is making an appearance today on Beyond the Doll. And today's topic of choice is going to be pre-order or click wars. So this is something that I wanted to talk about for a while, and I kind of been holding it off for a little bit because, well, I wanted to talk about when it's coming close to that. So we're at the very end of one pre-order and the delivery of a pre-order and possibly a very exciting click war that's going to be coming up. So let me put Moment over to the side because it takes a lot of energy just to hold her up. Hold on, guys. Okay. So let's see. How should we start today's episode? So, you know what I'm going to do? First of all, before we start anything, I just want to address why there hasn't been really much going on my channel. As you all know, I went to Anime NYC 2022 about 2 weeks ago. I think, about 2 weeks ago. And I didn't do an episode, obviously, because I was preparing for that day. I slept super early because I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get ready. So 4 a.m., get myself situated, ready, catch the train or drive to the train station, catch the train, get to New York City by 7, and then wait online for the health center, to get cleared, make sure you're okay with COVID protocols and everything. And then had to wait in a long line for about 3 hours. But which was good, though, because we got there so early that we didn't have to wait that. It's not that we didn't have to wait, but we were like all the way at the front of the line, basically. Like maybe there was 50 people before us. Like we were really close to the front. So it was really nice. So when they finally did open at 10, we had the run of the place, at least for a little while, before it started to get really crowded. But yeah, that 1 week, there was no episode because of that. And then there was no Doll Symposium afterwards because it was Thanksgiving weekend. And I didn't want to do anything for Thanksgiving weekend because spending time with the family, relaxing, etc., etc. White Rose, Ichigo, hey, welcome to the live stream. So that's why we haven't really had anything for the past I think it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. So yeah, and I'm working on two, is it two? Yeah, like about 2 videos I've been working on in the background. So be on the lookout for 2 new videos that's coming out at least sometime this month. I'm hoping. But yeah, that's it for a little bit of an update. I just wanted to give a small update before we really get started on what we are going to talk about today. So when you get into this hobby of doll collecting and you finally decided to buy a doll, there's multiple ways that you can go about on buying a doll. I mean, you could always buy a new one, a pre-owned one. You can trade for one. A lot of people are doing trades, although that one's may not be suitable for newbies because you would have to have a doll in order to trade for another doll, or maybe a bunch of accessories and clothing to trade for a doll. But at that point, you wouldn't really be a newbie, I guess, if you already had a bunch of stuff. But when you buy them new, there's a lot of different things that go into buying a brand new doll that most people are not familiar with. So one of them is a click war. Most people are familiar with click wars, as most hobbies, whether it's a doll hobby, cards, video games, whatever may have you, usually they'll have like a release day, and when you buy online, it becomes a click war because everybody's clicking on it. And we'll talk a little bit more about click wars, but I'm just giving a general overview. And then there's pre-orders. most of you in this hobby probably already know about pre-orders, or if you're new to the hobby, you at least know what pre-orders is from, again, like something like any kind of anime goods or video games. You can always pre-order things before they're actually out, so that this way when they do get released, you're like one of the first people to get them. But in the doll hobby, it can be somewhat different. And that's why I want to talk about the differences, and then which one is better for the community, which one's better, which one's worse, yada yada yada. So let's just dive into that. I think Click War is probably going to be the easiest one to talk about first, because it's pretty straightforward. So essentially, most of the doll companies, when they release new dolls, they have pre-orders, but not all of them. Some of them just have Click Wars. And essentially what Click Wars is that when they release a brand new product on their website, there's a bunch of people basically waiting. Like if you're like really into this new doll that's coming out, whether it be Dolphy Dream, whether it be Smart Doll, whether it be A-Zone dolls, or any other dolls, you got to be wary and be prepared for a Click War. So when they release it, let's say the company says, oh, this doll is going to be released on December, 2nd at 10 p.m., right? Just like the time frame of this show. You would want to get on their website, sign into the website beforehand, and then this way when it becomes available and you can click add to cart, you'll add to cart, and then hopefully you'll be able to check out, buy the product, and you're good. But it doesn't always work out so smoothly. So this is why we call it a Click War. If your internet connection, there's a couple things. You have, let's say, 100 dolls that are going to be released on this supposed night, just for easy number's sake. Let's say there's like 100 dolls, but there's like maybe 500 people that want this particular doll. It's just White Rose now. Kind of fell out of love with Bleach, LOL. Okay. All right, White Rose, no problem. So if you have 100 dolls, but you have 500 people that want to buy this doll, those 500 individuals who are really eager to buy this doll are all waiting on that website at like 9:50, 9:55, 9:58, whatever, just before 10 p.m., let's say. Once that timer clicks over at 10 p.m., all 500 of those people are clicking that add to cart button at the same time. The problem is that when you're waiting on that screen, the add to cart button is not lit up. It's usually grayed out, or it's not even there at all, right? So once 10 p.m. hits, all 500 of you have to hit the refresh button, right, on your Internet Explorer or Edge or whatever you use, Chrome, etc., etc. All of you are hitting refresh. All 500 hitting refresh all at the same time, right at 10 p.m. That essentially sends this huge, massive surge into the website. And some people get through, and some people get a crash where they have to try to, refresh again. Some of you get rainbow wheels. Some of you get like that blue circle thing, depending on what internet provider you have, internet service, internet browser, etc., etc. But some of you will get through, and some of you won't. And that's because of the lag and the speed going from one place, from wherever you live, to wherever you're buying from, which is most likely going to be Japan for the anime dolls. Yoshi Plays, what's up? How you doing? Welcome to the live stream. So, you have all these people trying to refresh in, a small handful of people getting in. Now, there's a couple things that works in your favor or not. If it is a release from a company from Japan, my understanding, and I'm not a tech guru whatsoever, but my understanding is the closer in proximity you are to Japan, or even in Japan, the better your connection speed is going to be to that website. So for example, if you live in Japan, you probably will refresh at 10 p.m. and it'll come up pretty quickly. We're hoping, at least we're thinking that. If you're all the way on the other side of the world, let's say, what's the furthest away from Japan you could be? Like Europe? Like Eastern United States, or far Western Europe, like where France is or something like that? I don't know. I'm really bad at geography. But those areas are probably the furthest away from Japan. And your refresh rate and your lag going to that website all the way in Japan will be worse than the people that are closer. At least that's my understanding of how it works. It's also your internet service provider. If you have an internet service provider that's not so good, like if you're on dial-up, then your luck is going to be pretty bad trying to refresh that page. If you're on, fiber optic or cable network, your connection will be a lot quicker, as those are the quicker service providers that you can get. Yoshi plays, I'm doing good as always. Oh, that's good to hear. Well, thank you for coming for the stream. Hopefully you'll find this topic interesting. So all those factors contribute into whether or not your refresh right at 10 p.m. is going to be a factor. Also, your computer. If you have an older computer, or if you might have a lot of lag because your processing power on your computer might not be fast enough for that refresh button to go through on time. So there's a lot of factors that play through. One thing I find easy is my, I don't know, I feel like my cell phone is better. Like sometimes I feel like my cell phone connected to the Wi-Fi works better because my cell phone is usually newer than my computer. So it has better processing power, I would assume. And if you're on like a tablet or a laptop, maybe it's not as good. It really depends on what tablet or laptop you have. You have to have top of the line, then processing power is good. But like I said, all these things factor into place. Like there's been times where a product would come up at 10 p.m. I'll hit that refresh button and I just can't get on and it just won't load. And then sometimes it will load right off the bat. I'll add it to cart and then I'll press the cart button to check out. And then I'll try to pay. And then that's where I get hooked up, right? A lot of people get hooked up at the paying part. So it's like, oh, we got to the page to refresh. We added it to cart. And then in the checkout menu, you go to pay it and you'll click credit card or PayPal, whatever it is you use to pay. And you'll click that pay button. And then that'll just get the rainbow wheel going or like the busy signal going. And then you have to refresh the page, which brings you right back to the checkout page, right? And sometimes at that point, the checkout page will say, oh, this product is gone. And you'll be like, no, I lost the product. Or sometimes it'll be there and then you'll hit checkout and then you'll hit pay again for whatever payment you're using. And then and then you'll get like the lag symbol for the rainbow wheel. And you're just like, oh my God, the little hourglass thing. And that's why they call it a click war, because you're constantly refreshing, constantly adding to cart, constantly hitting the pay button so that you could pay. And it really boils down to luck, really, because even if you have the best connection in the world, if you live in Japan or whatever, if there's just too many people going for it, your odds get slimmer and slimmer. So if there's 100 dolls and there's 500 people trying to get it, you're like 1 in 5 odds, right? Or something like that. Or you have like, what is it like? I don't really know what you have a 20% chance of winning, right? Maybe. But the more people that are trying to go for this doll, then the harder it is for you to get that click war going, right? So click wars are really, really, really frustrating for a lot of us in the doll hobby, or any hobby that ends up being a click war when you're trying to get something new or a new item. It's super difficult. And then another thing about click wars that's kind of annoying is that, okay, you have a set date and time, right? So let's say December 2nd, 10 p.m. That's when they're going to release the product. So you're like, all right, no problem. I'm going to get prepared. I'm going to get ready to buy this doll at 10 p.m. on December 2nd. You get everything set up and ready. But then so does everybody else, right? Everybody else knows December 2nd at 10 p.m. is when this doll is going to come out. So however many people, those 500 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, who knows? All those people are waiting right at the buzzer to hit that refresh button and add to cart and check out, right? And that gums up the servers, that gums up the internet, and there really is no way around it. I'm pretty sure a lot of companies try to figure out ways to make their service provider not crash or their website not crash so that everybody can try and get this doll, right? Now, some companies, they like to do it differently. Some companies, it's like they'll announce it an hour or 2 hours before the product releases, or maybe 24 hours. So it's a shorter time frame. So if you're not up and always checking a website for their provider, their social media, their website, if you're not always checking on a daily basis, you're not going to know that they're going to be releasing the doll like an hour before or 24 hours before. And that becomes a problem too, because if you miss the notification, right, and you're just not up with it, or maybe you're busy, right? Maybe you're at work, maybe you're not getting good internet service that day wherever you are, maybe you're on vacation or something. Who knows? There could be a lot of factors that go into why you didn't see the notification that a certain product is coming out within the hour or within 24 hours or something like that. And then you even miss the click war altogether, right? Because you didn't get that notification, or you weren't diligent enough to look for the notification or check your emails. Like some companies, they send you an email if you're signed up for notifications, and they'll send you an email like a day before or a couple hours before that so-and-so product is going to be coming out. And that's another problem. Like if you're just not diligent enough to check all of your social media outlets, check your emails, check the websites to make sure that you're good to go and ready for this product that's going to be released, that could also be a factor that comes into click wars that people don't like. And that's pretty much it. Like there's a lot of things that go into a click war that could derail you from getting the certain product that you want. Now let's move on to pre-orders, right? Let's talk about pre-orders. Most people already know about pre-orders from many other hobbies other than dolls. But the one thing that I think is pretty interesting, or actually before I get into the interesting thing, for those of you that are not familiar, right? Because I'm doing too much assumption here. I'm assuming that everybody knows what a pre-order is. So pre-orders, in the general or simplest of terms, is when a company announces, hey, we're going to sell this new product. It's going to come out, in, let's say, 2023. And during a certain time frame, like let's say from December of 2022 to January of 2023. So you get like a whole month, or the end of January of 2023. So you get like a whole 2 months. Within that 2-month time frame, as long as you go to our website and you add to cart and you pay for the whatever item it is that you want, then you're guaranteed to get that item. Now, the reason why they call it pre-order is because when you pay for it, you're not going to get it instantly. So they generally want to gauge how many people want to buy this particular product by this pre-order. So some companies have a cap limit and some companies don't. So some companies will be like, as long as you pre-order within the 2-month time frame that we give you, you're guaranteed to get the doll. And some companies say the pre-order period will be from the beginning of December to the end of January of 2023, but there's a cap of 100, right? So if people pre-order the 100 dolls already after the second week of December, then the pre-orders automatically close. So it doesn't matter if you try to pre-order in the end of December or in January, you can't anymore because they already hit their maximum limit. Now that sometimes, depending on the popularity of the doll, they might have a cap of 100 and it still won't cap out by the end of the pre-order period in January 2023. So it really, really depends on the popularity of the doll, the company, how many people are interested. But that's essentially what happens. So whether it's an unlimited pre-order within a certain time frame or a capped pre-order limit within a certain time frame, the point of the matter is you won't get that item until way later. So it could be, and again, it depends on the company, it could be a month later, 3 months later, half a year later, or a whole entire year later that you will get that product. Luxurious Atelier, hey, it will suck a lot if you have terrible internet and you need to keep refreshing the browser. Yeah, for Click Wars, definitely sucks if you have terrible internet, because the more times you try to refresh, the more you're going to get frustrated and you may not even get in at all. But yeah, going back to the pre-orders thing. So you have the time frame pre-orders, and then you have the time frame with a cap pre-orders, and then you just get a straight up cap pre-order, right? So some companies will just have a cap limit and they won't even give you like a time frame. They'll just say, starting on December 2nd at 10 p.m., we're going to open up pre-orders, and we only have 100 of them. So whenever those 100 sell out, then the pre-orders stop. Obviously, it closes. So they won't even give a time frame. They'll just give a starting date and then like a maximum amount. So some companies do that. But the thing I find really interesting about pre-orders with doll companies is that, especially with like, what's it called? Something like Dolphy Dream, where they started a thing where before you used to have to pay it all up front. Now they give you the option to put like a deposit down and then pay the rest later, which is pretty interesting too. And then there was like, there was one other one I wanted to mention, but then I can't for the life of me remember what it is. Oh, right. Okay. So then there's a thing where it's kind of like a pre-order, right? So they have this other thing called lottery systems. So some of you may already know where I'm going with this. So a lottery is kind of like a pre-order. So what they'll do is they'll say we're going to use the same example from before, right? We're going to say from the beginning of December of 2022, the first December 1st, till the end of January of 2023, like the end of the month, there's going to be a lottery system. And what the lottery system means for a specific doll is that you can go and add it to cart within that time frame. Any time from December, the beginning of December to the end of January 2023, you can add that doll to your cart and check out. And what that means is that it essentially puts your email in a bidding system, right? So they'll put your email on a list with everybody else. And then here's the funny thing. So when they close it, so they close it at the end of January, they'll say the winners will be announced in, let's say, February, like end of February or something like that, right? This is one thing I didn't realize when I got into the doll hobby that I thought was really funny and kind of sucky at the same time, was that you'll put your bid in, right? And then when your thing is announced and you win and they're like, hey, you got this email, you won the lottery for this specific doll. Well, you didn't win the doll. It's not like other lotteries where like when you win, you get that item. So it's not free. All you do is you win the ability to buy the doll, right? So you're not winning the doll itself and you're just like, yeah, I won it and it's all mine and I didn't have to pay anything. No, you win the opportunity to purchase said doll, right? So at least for me here, it may be a normal thing, maybe in Asia or in Japan or something. But for me in America, anytime like something's usually up for lottery, usually when you win, you just get that item. You don't have to pay for anything. Now I could be wrong. Maybe there's other lotteries in the United States that haven't participated in, but some of those lotteries are free. Some of those lotteries ask you to put like a certain money to put your bid in, like $5 or $2 to enter this lottery. So they're like, oh, put in $5 for the lottery for a chance to win something. And then if you win it, let's say it's $1,000 item, you just get that $1,000 item. That's yours. It's for free. But with doll companies, especially Dolphy Dream, if you put in your bid for the lottery and you win, you don't win that item for free. You just win the opportunity to be able to buy that particular item. So you can buy, you're like, oh, I got that email and I won. So now I can buy this doll for $500, $600, $1,000, whatever cost amount that doll is going to be for you. So I'm trying to think if there's any other pre-order ways that you could do it. So we talked about the time frame. We talked about the time frame with a cap limit. We talked about the cap limit ones, and then we talked about the lottery ones. And now it's kind of weird because lottery is really a lottery, but essentially it works the same as a pre-order, but with a catch, with a chance that you might not get it. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, but so if you're in a lottery, right, and you don't win, here's the thing that I think is kind of sucky, is that if you don't win, how long do you wait to see if you do? So, for example, if they say emails will go out to the winners on February 23rd or something like that, right? So on February 23rd, you check your email, And if you won, obviously the email will be there and you'll be like, yay, now you can buy the doll. Click the link. Yay, purchase. Now the doll's mine. But if you lose, right? I don't know if anybody else has noticed that they changed it or not, but I don't think they have. Like the last lottery I entered was the same way. I lost. So when you lose a lottery, they don't send you an email saying, oh, unfortunately, sorry, you lost. So then begs the question, how long do I wait to see if I won, right? So sometimes like early in the morning, like let's say you wake up in the morning, 6 a.m. and you refresh your email and you're like, oh, I don't see anything here. Maybe it's too early in the day and they didn't send the emails out yet, right? Then you're like 12 o'clock at lunch. You're like, let me refresh. And you look in your email and there's nothing there. And you're like, oh, maybe they didn't get to my number yet or whatever. But meanwhile, you're looking on social media and other people are posting, oh, I won the doll. And you're like, okay, does that mean all emails went out and I just lost and I just give up? Or does that mean that they're just going in number order, like from the first person that won to the last person that won, like they're going in chronological order? So maybe they're not done sending emails out and they just didn't get to mine yet, right? Ultimately, I guess you could say, if you didn't win by the end of the day, like you check the next day, you pretty much didn't win. That's my assumption. I don't think anyone has ever got a winning email the day after the announcements. But I've seen people post on social media like, oh, I won at 8 in the morning, and then like at 12 somebody else will post, oh, I won, or at 10 o'clock at night someone will post, yay, I won. Now that could just be that's when they decided to post it. They could have gotten the winning email at 6 in the morning. They just didn't decide to post it until like 10 p.m., right? So there's a lot of factors that kind of go into that. But my point is that if you lose, at least personally, like to me, what I think is if you lose the lottery, I wish the company would just send you an email and said, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that you have lost, but good luck in the next lottery or something like that. I would like that because then that gets rid of my anxiety of checking my email like every hour or so to see if the winning email's in there. Plus the fact that you go and you check your spam folders and everything like that just to make sure. You go and log into their website and you sign into your account just to check your order screen to make sure that, oh, maybe they forgot to send my email. And maybe it's in my order screen, so let me check my order screen to see if I won, right? So it gets really annoying for lotteries if you're trying to figure out if you won or not. I really wish, if any of you companies are watching this that do pre-orders or lottery systems like this, please send us an email that says, sorry, unfortunately, you lost. I would feel so much better to at least know that I lost than having to check my email every like hour or so to see if I won this doll that my heart's been set on all this time. So that is pre-orders and click wars in a nutshell. It really doesn't take that long to explain this or whatever of how these certain ways of buying dolls works, right? So let me go into the next part of it where I want to talk about like pros and cons, right? So let's talk about pros since we just finished pre-orders and it's fresh in our minds. Let's do the pros for pre-orders. So the number one pro of a pre-order is obviously if you do a pre-order and you add it to cart and it updates on your account on that website and it says, hey, this is your order number, this is your pre-order number, this is when you're going to get the doll, this is the delivery date, etc., etc. That's a plus. That's a win, right? Because that's guaranteed. You pre-ordered at the right time when you were supposed to, you paid for it, or at least you put your down payment or whatever, and you got your receipt and your order confirmation. So you know that doll is yours. No matter what, that doll is now yours. Unless something weird happens, knock on wood, something weird happens where like it gets lost in the mail or something, or somebody steals it off your doorstep. Who knows? There's a lot of weird things that can happen. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But aside from freaks situations like that, like freak of nature situations like that, or people just being jerks, that doll is yours. As long as you pre-order, that doll is definitely yours. Now, that's the 100% pro, right? Now, there are some iffy parts about pre-order. So I kind of hinted on it before, but if you are in the pre-order period, and let's say they give you a whole month to pre-order the item, but there's a cap limit. So you're like, oh, I have 2 months to pre-order this particular doll. So I don't have any money this month, but I know I'll have money after Christmas. Like maybe my relatives or something will give me Christmas money or whatever. So in January, I will definitely pre-order this doll. But if there's a cap limit, because some companies do this, not all, but some companies do this. If there's a cap limit and you're saving up money, and then they reach that cap in, let's say, the middle of December, then that kind of sucks, right? Because then you missed out because you were trying to save money and you were like, oh, I can get it in January. But if it hits the cap limit, then you can't. And that kind of stinks. And then you kind of lose out on that item. So that's one thing you got to be careful of. One thing you got to watch out for. And then, obviously, another not obviously, but another downside to pre-orders sometimes is that if you're able to pre-order the doll and you get your confirmation and everything's good, right? One thing that you have to understand, especially in the doll hobby, is that the pre-orders are usually a little bit longer, at least from my understanding. So if it's A-Zone dolls, when you pre-order an A-Zone doll, which they call reservation on their website, but if you pre-order an A-Zone doll, they usually ship a month later, at most 3 months later. So you don't have to wait that long. Historically for Dolphy Dream dolls, especially when it's a pre-order project, you're waiting an entire year. So they give you 3 months to pre-order this doll. So you have 3 separate months for 3 separate shipments. Shipment 1, 2, and 3, etc. And you have to wait an entire year. So if you pre-ordered in 2022, that doll's not getting to you until 2023. And sometimes they can be delayed, and you may not get it in 2023, maybe 2024, or late in 2023. Let me preface by that, depending on when it was supposed to be delivered, right? So if it was supposed to be delivered to you in 2023 in December, let's say it got delayed, it could be January 2024. That's what I meant by that. I didn't mean like 2 years you're waiting, right? Shiki Katana says, or you could have made payment, but moments later you got an email informing you that the item you ordered has been sold out. Yes. And that's usually when you do a pre-order that has a cap limit. And that's like one of those companies that like has a poorly designed website where the whatever program that they're using or whatever allowed people to keep clicking on an item and pre-ordering an item, and then when they actually get down to counting all those like confirmations of orders, they're like, wait a minute, we went over, I don't know what happened. That's like a programming error or some kind of error, and then they have to like unfortunately tell the customer, like you said, oh, this order has been sold out, and you're like, but I pre-ordered it, right? Hopefully they're not jerks about it and they give you your money back. I don't think any company wouldn't. But sometimes there may be a company that's like, oh, we'll give you store credit. That would really suck. I've never seen that for a doll company, but that would really, really be terrible. Luxeria Altelier says, what do you think about the possibility of the Dolphy Kaito really shipped in spring of 2023? I think this is the first that I've seen where it doesn't take a year. No, that's happened before, actually, but only with like certain dolls. So I think it was... the Higurashi doll, Rena from Higurashi. She was a pre-order project, but she was only, for whatever reason, she was only like, I think 8 months instead of a full year. Like it's close to a full year, but it was 8 months. But yeah, Kaito coming in spring of 2023. I think that's doable for them. I think they could pull that off. The only thing I'm worried about is that Kaito is very popular, especially as a Vocaloid. A lot of Dolphy Dream owners and soon new to be Dolphy Dream owners might want to get in on this, and that may postpone the delivery in spring. So you might be, if anything, you might be seeing a summer shipping. But yeah, I mean, most of the time it's an entire year. Very few times they've done it in like less than a year. Mostly it's always a year. I hope Kaito comes out in spring of 2023. That would be really nice for those that have been waiting for Kaito for a long time. Because I know a lot of people have been waiting for Kaito. Like, people have been wanting Kaito before May came out. I think even before Luca came out, people were asking for Kaito. So I'm assuming he's going to be really popular. So depending on that popularity, yeah, it may get postponed till summer of 2023. It's a really interesting argument. Like, I would have assumed that Kaito would be, a 20, a one whole year later kind of thing, like December of 2023. That I really thought he would be that, but the fact that they're saying spring of 2023, that's pretty ambitious, especially for a doll of its popularity. But hopefully, knock on wood, you guys will get your Kaitos in spring of 2023. What do you think about? Oh no, you deleted it. Oh, you put something and then you deleted it. Look, Sarah. Okay, so going back to the pre-order thing I was talking about. So yeah, sometimes, they'll do pre-orders and then, the turnaround time would be an entire year that you have to wait. There was once where I think it was 2B, the 2B Dolphy Dream pre-order. She was supposed to be a whole year later, and then she got postponed a lot. Now, to be fair, the 2B thing was, I think her delivery time was supposed to be around when the pandemic hit. So for people getting their dolls a little bit later, that's unfortunate, but that's to be expected. I mean, in retrospect, that's to be expected. During the time when the pandemic first started, we didn't really know what to expect at that point. Like, I remember they sent us home and they were like, oh, well, you're going to have to quarantine. Everybody has to go home for a lockdown for 14 days. So, like, I was like, wow, I've never thought that. And then my job was like, oh, you can work from home. And then I was like, really? That's awesome. So, like, I never thought my job would ever let me work from home, but they did. And I was one of the lucky few that was able to do that. I know there's a lot of people out there that have jobs that didn't allow from work from home, but that was definitely a thing. Shiki Katana says, I think it's because of a typhoon too for 2B. I think there was a typhoon, but I don't really remember. But there was a lot of factors that kind of postponed 2B. And I remember people got theirs 6 months after they were supposed to release, and then some people even a whole year. It really depends. Like, so you know how I said in the pre-order period, there's usually for an entire year, there's 3 months to pre-order a doll. So, you have the first, second, and third, and that's the shipments. You have first shipment, second shipment, third shipment. So I'm assuming that the people that got theirs like an entire year after it was supposed to come was probably those individuals that were in the third shipment of 2B. But yeah, I mean, that is a unique situation though for something to be delayed that long. And there's a lot of factors that played into that one. But normally when a doll has to be postponed, it's usually the next quarter. So if it was supposed to be spring, it's usually fall. If it's supposed to be fall, it's usually winter. But yeah, that's one of the downsides of pre-orders. It's like, yes, you're guaranteed 100% to get that doll, but you have to wait like an entire year. So A-Zone is pretty good about it, but they probably have less quantities. Like I said, within like 3 months, you usually get your doll. Dolphy Dream, a year. Sometimes, like we've seen before, maybe 6 months or 8 months or whatever. But we'll have to wait and see if that changes anytime in the near future. If Kaito is done in spring of 2023, that kind of sets a precedence. Maybe they'll do much quicker turnaround times. But you got to remember, too, if the turnaround time is quicker, right? Maybe either A, they might have like a secret like cap limit, and maybe they'll stop and they'll say, oh, we've reached the maximum that we're able to do, so there won't be a third month of pre-orders. I've never seen that happen before, but who knows, maybe. Or there could be, because so many people pre-ordered like an astronomical amount that they weren't ready for, that could also push back the spring 2023 date, because instead of what they estimated, because these businesses have an estimation, they're like, we think that we could sell about 2,000 of these, right? But then if they got like 6,000 pre-orders, then it's like, oh, we may not make the time frame. So they have a number of ways to do that, right? They could say, well, we could continue to make the dolls in the background, and then first shipment will be the 2,000 we planned for, and hopefully by the second shipment time we'll finish the other 2,000, and then by the third shipment time we'll finish the next 2,000, right? Maybe they plan it, or they'll say we're not going to start shipping till we get at least 5,000 of them, and then the third shipment will be the last 1,000, or something like that. There's a lot of different factors that can go into that, but essentially, as long as you pre-order, you most likely will be guaranteed to get that, unless it's an unfortunate situation that that Luxaria was talking about. Oh no, not Luxaria. I'm sorry, Shiki was talking about. But yeah, the pre-orders, definitely you get them. That's definitely a cool thing that I like. And I remember what's it called? My first time trying to pre-order something from Volks International. It was like a long wait, especially if it's your very first doll. And then you're like, let me do this pre-order, and then you have to wait an entire year, right? So when I did my very first pre-order project doll, it was Cheryl Gnome from Macross. And it's one of my favorite dolls. It's probably like my second favorite doll of all my dolls that I have. I really like Cheryl a lot. But she was my first pre-order, right? And in that time of having to wait an entire year for Cheryl to come out, I ended up buying like 2 dolls in between. Because you're waiting, right? You're like, oh, I can't wait to get this doll. So while you're waiting that entire year, you're doing like you're shopping for like, oh, when I get her, I would love to have this dress for her, right? So you're looking up dresses, you're looking up accessories, in the interim, and you end up buying those dresses and accessories. But you're also, when you go to these websites looking at dresses and stuff, maybe they announce a new doll or announce a different doll, or another company announces another doll, and you're like, oh my god, I really want that one too. And then if you're bad like me, you end up buying those also while you're waiting for another pre-order doll to come in. That's really bad spending habits. I don't endorse that you guys do that, but I'm just saying a lot of things can happen within a year. And then other things that's very unfortunate is that within that year, like what if something unfortunate happens to you? Like you lost your job, or you got really sick, or your kids need like, I don't know, something that you got to pay for or whatever. There's things that can happen within a year that might be detrimental to you being able to afford this doll. And we've seen it, at least those of you in the hobby, you've seen it before on Facebook groups, on social media, people saying, oh, I have this doll I'm selling. It's new in box. I really love this doll, but I bills came up, or I got sick and I really need the money. So they try to sell it, right? Things like that can happen within the year, right? So that's another downside to pre-order projects, is that you never know what's going to happen within that whole year that you're waiting. Like I said, it's different for A-Zone because A-Zone does it like within 3 months. Now, another thing is Smart Doll. Way back in the day, when Smart Doll first started, they actually also had pre-orders. So, but they had a cap on their pre-orders back in the day. So when you would order, like I remember the original OG Chitose was a pre-order. You had to fill out this little form. I forgot what program Danny Chu was using at the time, but you had to fill out this form, fill it out, and then I think the turnaround time was within like I think it was like within a month or two, because I think he likes making his products before he actually releases them, so that this way, they could do their thing. But I remember that he had like a sign up. I was like, and I remember I went for it. I got my confirmation and everything. And I think he did it for maybe a couple other dolls after that, where he did the pre-orders, and then he finally stopped it. And I forgot what the reason was why he stopped doing the pre-orders. There was a reason. I can't remember what the reason was, but he stopped the pre-orders for some reason, and it was a valid reason. I just couldn't remember what it was. Gosh, for the life of me, I can't remember what the reason was. Luxaria says, it's the same as when you do it with resin. Not really pre-order, but when you order, not on hand, the waiting game is 1 to 2 months is lucky. Regular is like 6 months, and super rarely is a year. Oh, really? Because I'm not really, I don't know a lot about the whole resin side of the dolls, so that's interesting. that they have different intervals like that depending on what kind of doll, I guess it is. But yeah, I mean, at a certain point, Smart Dolls stopped taking pre-orders and they started doing click wars. And we'll get into that when we get to the click war section. But yeah, and then the lottery thing. So here's the thing with lotteries, right? So I already explained how lotteries worked earlier in the video. If you missed it, you might want to watch it on the VODs. But the thing with the lotteries too is, now take this with a grain of salt, okay? Don't take my word for it and be like, oh well, Shizusan said this and it's definite. No. This is rumor, okay? We're going into the rumor zones. This is something I've heard from other individuals, either on social media or people that I know in person that have said this. But I don't know, if the source is as reliable, or if it was like a one-off situation. I really don't know. But here it is, right? With the lotteries is that, you are essentially entering in this lottery because you say that you want this doll and that you can afford it. Instead of doing a click war or a pre-order, you can definitely afford it. That's what you're telling these companies when you enter this lottery, is that you want this doll and you have the money for it and you can afford it. But here's the thing, is that we as consumers, we like getting chances to win. Because if you put in one lottery bid, your chances are lower, right? It's the same thing when you play the lottery, at least for money in the United States. I don't know if they have lotteries in other countries. Do they have lotteries in other countries? I don't know. But in the US, they have these lotteries where you buy a ticket with a set of numbers and it costs you like $3 for one ticket, right? But you can spend $300 and get 100 tickets, right? So now your chances of winning is higher. It's the same thing with the lotteries for dolls, right? But you can't buy as many dolls as you want in one lottery for one account. Sometimes folks will say $1 per account for lottery. Sometimes they'll say $2, right? So it really depends. You have to read the website because it'll actually specify. But to give you a context, the last lottery, which is the Decord lottery from Volks, you can enter for all the dolls. So there were 6 dolls. You can put 6 entries, one for each doll. You can't put multiple entries for just one singular doll, but you can do one for each doll. So hold on, I need something to drink. Hold on. So here's the thing with the lotteries. So let's say that you like all 6 of those dolls and you wouldn't mind having just one of them. And you're like, the chances of me winning all 6 is really rare. I can afford 2 of the dolls. Let's just say that. So you put in 6 bids for the lottery. And if you get announced the winner for all 6 dolls, my advice to you is to buy all 6 dolls. Now that's going to be really expensive. But here's the thing that I heard, and this is the rumor section, okay? There's no hard evidence for this, but this is what I heard. If you enter a lottery and you cancel your winnings for said lottery, supposedly you get put on a blacklist. Supposedly. Okay, this is what the rumor is. This is what I've heard. You get put on a blacklist. Now, I don't know if you automatically get banned from the website from entering to lotteries, or if you have a certain amount of times. So let's say you canceled a lottery winning once, and then the next year you canceled again, and let's say there's a total of 5 cancellations, and then they blacklist you. That would be a little bit more lenient, right? I would assume that there must be like a certain tally. Like maybe 3 cancellations, you're out. It'd be kind of harsh if they do like 1 cancellation and then you get banned. But they definitely have like some kind of like blacklist, because a friend of mine said that they got banned from entering lotteries because they canceled too much. Now, this is not like a super close friend of mine. It's more of like an acquaintance. But that's what they claim that happened. And I've seen it on social media and in some forums or whatever, people saying that they got banned from buying things. So yeah, that's the only thing I would caution you from, because let's say you also do this, right? Let's say you have an account and you enter the lottery for doll A, right? But you're only allowed to enter one lottery bid for one doll. So it's not like you can do like 5 lottery bids for doll A. No, you can't. So what some people do is they make multiple accounts, right? So they'll make like 5 accounts. They're all their own accounts, but they make 5 different accounts, right? So they put in 5 bids for doll A. Here's the thing. If you win all 5 bids, I guess it doesn't matter to you. Like if you cancel, like if you win 3 times and the other 2 times you lose. I guess if you just buy it on one account and then you cancel the other 2 winnings and they blacklist those 2 accounts, I suppose that's okay because those are throwaway accounts. But here, I've never done it myself, so I don't know how it works. But here's my thing. Like, what if you make all 5 accounts, but you can't fake certain things, right? So what if all 5 accounts have the same credit card number and the same name and same address? They're going to know it's the same person, right? So like if you cancel like twice on those throwaway accounts and they're like, wait, Shizusan canceled this one, but then there's another user account that says Shizusan with the same address and they also canceled. So then that might get you put on the blacklist also. So my advice is that if you ever win anything through a lottery, please do not cancel, because the possibility of you getting banned or blacklisted is there, because I've heard it happen. But again, this is all rumor mill. There's no hard evidence. There's nothing on their website saying that they ban people or there's some kind of blacklist or anything. There's nothing that says that. But it's a rumor mill, right? This is what I've heard and from what other people have told me. Let me see what Luxaria says. People enter in both international and Japanese folks' websites to double the chances. The only terror is if you win on both. Yeah, exactly. If you win on both, then you kind of have to buy both because you don't want to get on that blacklist, right? Shiki says, yeah, chances are you get blacklisted or banned for canceling a lottery win. Luxaria said, I think that's true. I remember reading it somewhere in their website, but can't remember it. Really? You read it on their website? I personally have never seen it posted anywhere on a website. But again, this is what I've heard. This is the rumor. The rumor is if you win a lottery, you damn sure better be purchasing all those dolls for the lottery, because you don't want to get on that blacklist. Because God forbid you get on the blacklist and you can't get any more dolls. Now, there's always the chance that you can make another account. But I don't know how deeply these websites or these companies screen these accounts. Because if your name is on a blacklist, or let's say your username is on a blacklist, and then you create another account with a different username, but then they see the addresses are the same, and they see the name is the same, or the credit cards are the same, they might be like, oh, this person's trying to get in by making a new account. They're blacklisted automatically already. I don't know how it works on their end, but I'm assuming that once you get banned, it might be hard to get back in. So, like I said, this acquaintance of mine that got banned, they actually asked their cousin to make an account and then put their address and their credit card in. But now you have to really trust that person, because now, I guess because they're family, the cousin bought it, and then in hopes that, my acquaintance friend is going to pay that cousin back, right? So then you take the chance if you're going to be the pseudo proxy for that person. But yeah, definitely if you win a lottery, do not cancel that lottery. Just all you got to do is just buy. I know you probably don't have the money, but let's say, for instance, you put in 5 bids for the lottery, you won 3 out of 5. Who has like an extra $2,000 sitting around so you buy the other 2, right? So yeah, it's a lot of money. But then on the upside, if you have that kind of an income that you could do, you could buy all 3. Obviously, you keep one and sell the other 2. Right? To recoup the money that you spent, you sell the other 2. That's one way to doing it. But definitely, you take your chances with lotteries. Please, if you put in multiple bids for the same dolls, please don't cancel. I mean, obviously, if it's a life situation, like you need that money, because, or else you're not gonna be able to pay rent and you're gonna lose your house. Obviously, in that situation, cancel the lottery. Or if you need surgery, and don't buy the doll over getting surgery. Like, obviously life ending things like that, or important life circumstances like that, then yeah, obviously you're gonna have to cancel your lottery win. And that would be very unfortunate if you got banned for that, because that's a real life situation that you just needed money for. But if it's not something like that, don't cancel. Please don't. Aiko, hi, hello. I'm getting my Parabox doll Christmas present. Ooh. Now, by chance, is this Parabox doll the new 1/2 scale ones? Because I actually wanted to buy one of those. I just don't have any money to buy one. But I really was interested in getting one of those. Aiko says, hello from Indonesia. Hello, Aiko from Indonesia. Wow, all the way in Indonesia watching my channel? That's awesome. I mean, as a YouTuber, we have a section on our account, and they call it the analytics section. It tells you a whole bunch of different information. But one of the information is it tells you where your watchers are, where people watch you around the world. And, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, I guess because I'm an American YouTuber, most of my views are from America, but it's really cool seeing and people that from other parts of the world. So thank you for watching and chiming in, Aiko, on the live stream. Really appreciate you supporting the channel and taking interest in today's episode. Doll Lovers says hello from MD Maryland. I'm assuming that's Maryland. Hello, Doll Lovers, welcome to the stream. Luxaria says, number 10, please be sure to complete your purchase by the payment deadline. Non-payment for lottery items may result in order cancellation and account suspension. Found it. Wow. Okay, so you did find it. What was that? Was that on that was on the Volks website, I'm assuming, Luxaria, right? So okay, so here we go. Everybody say thank you to Luxaria for finding it. Because until now, I always thought and heard it was a rumor, but it looks like, and we need further confirmation. Luxaria, if you could just let us know you found that on the Volks website or something, or maybe another doll company's website, whether that's A-Zone or something like that. But it looks like we have confirmation that your account can be suspended for non-payment of lottery items. Oh my God. So that's terrible. Yeah, so just be aware of that. A word of caution. If you enter a lottery and you enter multiple chimes to increase your chances of entering a lottery, be prepared to be able to pay for those chances. So if you put in 5 chances, be prepared to buy 5 dolls if you just so happen to win all 5. Now the odds of you winning all 5 is pretty low. Okay, because it's already hard to win on one chance of a lottery. It's already super difficult. So if you put in 5 lottery chances and you won all 5, I strongly urge you to play the lottery in your country for money. Like I said, in America we have a lottery where you win money. So for me on the East Coast, we have something called like a Powerball. And I think it goes through other states within the United States. But you have the possibility of buying like a $3 ticket or a $5 ticket. And if you win like $1 billion. I think it's up to $1 billion right now. So I'm assuming other countries have lotteries. But what I'm saying is if you put in 5 separate accounts for 5 separate bids for a specific doll in a lottery and you won all 5 of those, go and play the lottery in your country or your hometown, because that's some damn good luck. I mean, and if you win that $1 billion winning lottery, then you could definitely afford to buy all 5 of those lotteries for those dolls. But it can happen. It can happen, right? Like, I'll give you guys another example. I believe it was, I don't remember the name of the doll. I think the doll was called Matcha. So last summer, there was a lottery for a resin doll, an SD resin doll named Matcha. Now, I'm not a resin doll collector, but a friend of mine is a very big resin doll collector, and they asked me to put my bid into a lottery for them on their behalf. Now, normally, I wouldn't do this for anybody because like I said, the chances are, like, what if I win and then that person also won on their account and they don't have the money to pay $2, I'm asked out. Like, one, they won't pay me and then I'll be out of money. And then two, that just ruined a friendship right there because now I hate them for not paying me, right? But this is a very close family friend of mine, so we're really close. So I trust them, to pay if I won. So they put in a lottery bid on their own account. I put in a lottery bid for this resin doll on their behalf. And then they had their husband put in another lottery bid on their behalf. And then they asked I think they asked their uncle or their aunt or something to also put in a lottery bid. So, but all in all, there was 5 lottery bids put in, right? All in all, there were 5. Turns out I won for them. They also won on their account, and one of their aunts also won. So they ended up buying 3 of this resin doll. They ended up winning 3 of them out of the 5 chances that they had. So I was like, oh my God, what are the odds of that, right? So we ended up winning 3, and luckily my friend, as good as their word, they paid me for that lottery winning. And when it came in, I drove over to their house and I gave them their doll. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you can enter multiple times to up your chances to win a doll. Just make sure that you're able to pay for the dolls if you win them. So if you put in 5 chances and you win 5 times, make sure you have the money to pay for all 5. Because as we recently found out, thanks to Luxaria, that your account can be suspended for canceling or non-payment of your lottery win. Luxaria says, I sent the website, but it gets deleted. But yeah, in Volks USA website. Okay, so Volks USA. Oh, Christina Kowald, welcome to the stream. Super big Merry Christmas to you and family and a great New Year. Really love New Year, really love you and your shows. Biggest from Australia. Australia? Christina, I know you've been supporting my channel for quite some time. I didn't know you were in Australia. Wow, that's so awesome. Like, I love seeing viewers from like all over the world. This is so cool. Well, hello all the way from the US to Australia. Well, what's the time difference over there? It's probably somewhere similar to Japan, right? So you guys are probably at what? It's 11 p.m. for me. So you probably are Saturday at what? 1 p.m. I'm assuming. I swear to God, I didn't Google it. I'm just guessing. Luxaria says you can sell it if it's rare at a higher amount. You can. And here's the thing. Okay, this could be a whole other topic for Beyond the Doll. I think it should be a whole other topic, but it's selling things, secondhand or third market. Now, a lot of people are aware of what scalpers are, but for those of you that are not aware what a scalper is, it's somebody that buys something at retail and then resells it for an astronomical amount. So a good example of this is PlayStation 5 right now. So PlayStation 5 is pretty hard to get for a lot of people. It sells for about $600 roughly, retail. And then there's a lot of people that are lucky enough to buy them because it's really hard to get one. But some people buy them and then turn around and sell it for like $1,200 or $1,500. That's like double, sometimes triple the amount. Same things happens for dolls. Some people sell dolls for way more than they're worth. And some people sell them for exactly retail. Some people sell them for a little bit over retail of what we call market value, depending on the popularity of the doll and the rarity of the doll. And sometimes that's really hard to gauge. And that's one of the reasons why I don't sell any of my dolls. Because if I were to sell my dolls, it would be harder for me to sell anything because of many different reasons. One is because I'm a public face. I'm not super popular where everyone in the world knows my name, but I'm popular enough, I guess, within the hobby that people know me. So if I were personally to sell a doll, there's a lot of risks that come with that. For one, if I say, oh, my doll is in pristine condition, and then I sell it to somebody and it arrives at their house, right? Now, if I lied, and they receive the doll and it's all messed up, obviously they're going to call me out, right? They're going to be like, oh, Shizusan, that guy on YouTube, he sold me a defective doll, and that would really damage my reputation. So, that's one thing. Not that I would ever sell anybody anything that's damaged, but I'm just saying that's a possibility. Then there's also the possibility of people lying, right? Like if I sold a doll and, if somebody was just trying to be mean or vindictive for whatever reason, they could be like, oh, Shizusan sold me a doll and it was damaged or it was stained. When on my end, it wasn't. Like I send them a pristine doll, but then they claim that it was stained. That also ruins my reputation. Again, now, market value is a hard thing. Now, usually if a lot of the dolls that I own are pretty rare. A lot of the ones I own are pretty one-off. So selling them at retail would be incredibly nice of me to do. If I sold them at retail, I know a lot of people would be jumping at me to buy it. And then at that point, how do you determine who gets the doll, right? Maybe the very first person that messaged me, that's probably the best way to do it, right? But if I get like 1 billion messages all at once, oh my God, that's a lot of people I have to reply back to say, I'm sorry, it's already sold. I'm sorry, it's already sold. That's another problem. But market value is a problem too, because, if it's a really rare doll, right, and it goes for $600, and then I try to sell it afterwards, and let's say, a lot of places are selling it for different places. Maybe someone's selling it for 2,000, maybe someone's selling it for 800, maybe someone's selling it for 1,200, right? So then you got to gauge, well, I don't want to get gypped if other people are selling it at this market value. But then I also don't want to be a scalper and sell it for way too much, because then people will call me out on that too. So there's a lot of downsides for an individual like myself to sell anything on the secondhand market. But I guess for other people, because it happens all the time. Like scalpers are always anonymous. They go and they buy things and then they sell them for double or triple the price, and they're anonymous. Nobody knows who these scalper people are, because even if they get banned one way, they create a whole nother account and nobody knows who that person is. It's a horrible, horrible system, and those people taking advantage of people is just absolutely terrible. Like that's just horrible. Like it's bad all around. But I talked a lot about that. That should actually be a whole nother episode of Beyond the Doll, because I could talk for even longer about selling things secondhand. There's a lot of skeevy things that happens that you need to be aware of, and maybe we'll make that another episode at another time. Luxeria says Japan too. Oh, Luxeria, you're in Japan? Awesome. I love Japan. I can't wait to go back. I went, oddly enough, in 2019, right before the pandemic started. So I guess that was a good time to go, because if I wanted to go after that, I couldn't go because of the pandemic. But yeah, I love Japan. I can't wait to go back. It's a beautiful country. I was in Tokyo and a little bit in Osaka, but Tokyo is so nice. It's so clean. It's one of the things that I was so amazed by, because I live like in New Jersey, right next to New York City. So I go to New York City a lot, and I love New York City. It's such a great city, but man, is it dirty. It is so dirty. And the weird smells you get walking around the city is horrible. It's like nasty smells of garbage and all a bunch of other stuff. But when I went to Japan, ooh, so clean. So clean, and it's so beautiful. And one thing that really gets me about Japan, maybe you can tell me, Luxeria, is that as clean, as beautiful as it is in Tokyo, there's no garbage cans. I couldn't find a garbage cans were the hardest thing to find in Tokyo, and yet it's so clean. Like if this was New York City, if you were in New York City and they took away all the garbage cans, there would be even more garbage. The fact that there is a garbage can at every corner in New York City, even garbage cans in between every corner, there'll be garbage cans, and there's still garbage all over the floor. Like the fact that Tokyo has garbage cans very few and far between, it's like really hard to find garbage cans for some reason. And the fact that it's so clean, now obviously it's a city, there's gonna be garbage in certain places, but the comparison between garbage on the floor in New York City and garbage on the floor in Tokyo, and then the lack of garbage cans in Tokyo, it's amazing how clean Tokyo is. It's so amazing. Like I remember I was eating things and whatever, and I had to just carry a bag with me that I would just throw my garbage in. So like if I went to like a takoyaki's place and I got napkins and things like that, I would eat, and then I'm like, what do I do with this dirty napkin or the wrapper? There was no garbage can. I don't know where to put it. So I started putting it in my pocket, right? But then I have crumbs in my pocket and things like that. So I started bringing a bag around with me where I would just throw my garbage into that bag and just walk around Japan with this garbage bag of stuff. Luxaria says, nope, not just Tokyo. This is true in all Japan. Yeah, Osaka, I couldn't find garbage cans either. They're very few and far between. The most places I was able to find a garbage can was either inside the kombini or at a train station. Those were the majority places where I could find a garbage can. And even then, in the kombini, it's easy to find because kombinis aren't that big. So like you could find the garbage can easily. But sometimes in the train station, depending on what train station, let's say Shinjuku, Shinjuku train station, like it's a huge train station which I got lost in. There are garbage cans in that train station. It was just very hard to find it because the train station was so big. I got lost for about a good maybe 20 minutes in Shinjuku station trying to find my way to get out of the station. But yeah, sorry, long tangent. But yeah, getting back to lotteries. So with the lotteries, just be aware that if you put your bid in for a lottery, how many bids you put in. Be prepared to buy those amount of bids, or you could have your account suspended, and that would be very, very unfortunate to get your suspended account. When will they unsuspend it? We have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Now, I don't know if other companies do it. Like, I don't know if A-Zone has the same thing. But then again, I don't know if A-Zone does a lottery. I know A-Zone does reservations, which are essentially pre-orders, but I don't know if they do lotteries. They may, but I just personally never seen it because I'm also new to the A-Zone hobby. So there may have been, but I just don't know about it. Smart Doll doesn't do any lottery system, so you don't have to worry about that with Smart Doll. But there are other things you have to worry about, which we'll get into when we go back to Click Wars. And then other doll companies, I don't really know because I don't partake. I mostly focus on Dolphy Dream, Smart Doll, and A-Zone right now. So other dolls like Pull-Ups and Blythes, or resin companies like Eiffel House and Granado dolls, things like that, like I don't know how those work. But when it comes to anime vinyl dolls for Smart Doll, Dolphy Dream, and A-Zone, I got you guys. At least to the best of my ability, I got you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much a lot of the pros and cons of doing pre-orders / lotteries. I should have put that in the title because lotteries are separate, but they're kind of like a pre-order at the same time. Let's circle back and go to pros and cons of a Click War now. Now, we kind of hit on the cons for Click Wars, right? Because all in all, Click Wars is pretty much just a con. There's just all cons, right? There's so many downsides to a Click War that I don't really know any upsides. Like, the only upside that I can think of with a Click War, and this is the only one I can think of. If you guys watching live on the stream, put it in comments. If you're watching this on a VOD, put it in the comments in the VOD. But here's my take on it. If there were to be any pro for a Click War, the only pro would be for collectors. So if you're a person that likes collecting things, especially if you like collecting rare things, then the harder the Click War, the better for an individual such as that. Meaning that, there are some people, and I think Japan is like this. Japan likes exclusives. Like, they love it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Luxaria, because apparently you're in Japan, but they love limited edition, collector's editions, like exclusives. Like, you see it all the time. Like, when you want to buy like either Figmas or Nendroids or statues or dolls, there's always like an exclusivity thing, a collector's edition, a limited edition, a numbered edition. Like, they love it. Like, and people around the world love those things too. But I find that a lot of things in Japan that you could buy have limited editions or seasonal editions or one-time only release or things like that, right? So the only pro that I can think of for a Click War is for individuals that like having really rare things. So Luxaria says you also get bragging rights and higher selling price maybe. Yeah. So the only pro I can think of a click war is that if you're a collector and you actually won a click war and you got through and you got that specific doll that you wanted, then yeah, you could be brag to your friends and be like, hey, look at this doll I got that only 100 people in the world have. Like, this is my very lovely so and so doll. Like, I'm like one of 10 people in the world that have it, kind of thing. Like, it's like bragging rights, right? Like, I have this limited edition. And it's not just Japanese stuff, and it's not just dolls. Like, it's for a lot of things, like Ferraris, like people that collect high expensive cars. Like, what car was that? I think it was like the Koenigsegg. I think it's like the Koenigsegg something. I forgot the model, but it was a Koenigsegg where there's only like, I think, 5 in the world. So like, the person that buys that one of the 5, like, that's huge bragging rights, right? Like, I am only one of 5 people. And it's not even one of 5, right? Because the first model, number 1, goes like to the family who owns the company. Like, the owner always has model number 1, right? And then maybe they give model number 2 to like, a friend or whatever. And then like model 3 and 4 is what somebody in the world will get. And then always, for some reason, the first model and the very last model are the most sought after ones. So if you have model number 1, you're like the luckiest person with the serial number 1. And then if you're like the guy that has serial number 5, like the very last edition, then that's also bragging rights, because then even though you have the very last one, you brag that, look at this, I got the last one off the production line. So like, it's all about bragging, right? It's bragging rights. Like, that's the only pro I can think of click wars for people, is just the fact that they could brag to other people that they got this super rare item. Look, Altair says they do like limited, so they do it a lot, especially food and additional merchandise in convenience stores. Oh yeah, like Starbucks Japan, they have like limited, right, like moon cakes or limited autumn festival things and things like that. So yeah, they love that stuff. Oh no, I'm getting spammers in my chat. No, I need a moderator. Who wants to moderate my chat? 'Cause there's... Okay. Christina says, haha, people take home their rubbish. It very super proud how great, super clean. If you buy a drink there and drinks and the rubber drink stands when Japan 2 years ago, save next year and have to go. Yeah, like that's so true, Christina. That's so true. It's like, people just take their rubbish home. I did that my first day in Japan. I put everything in my pockets. And then when I finally got to my hotel room, like I finally threw it out in my hotel room like trash can. Like, it's just so hard to find trash cans in Japan. But yeah, and then see, the reason why I don't say that a pro for click wars is selling at a higher price, because that's the touchy topic that I say we should have a whole nother episode for. Because then if you're selling for another higher price, okay, then why are you buying the doll in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, normally you would buy the doll because you really want it, like you really like it. But then if you're buying a really rare doll with the intention of selling at a higher price, then you risk the chance of being identified as like a scalper. Now, obviously there's different levels of scalping. Like, some people might, and it's personal preference. Some people might say somebody that's selling a $500 doll for $1,000 is a scalper because they're charging double the price, right? But then where do you hit your limit of what is a scalper, right? If the doll was $500 and somebody bought it and then turned around and sold it for $600, for $100 more, so that's like what, like a 10% increase or something like that. I'm so bad at math. Please stop laughing at me. I know you guys are laughing, but like, you sell it for like $100 more. Does that qualify as a scalper? Maybe that's just selling at a market value, right? Like, because it's rare, I'm going to add a little bit extra to the price, but I'm not going to go too extreme, kind of thing. Like, at what point do you consider somebody a scalper? Or is it just anybody that buys and then resells for any amount more? Like if it was a $500 doll and you sold it for $501, does that count as being a scalper? Maybe, because some people's arguments might be that could have gone to somebody that really wanted the doll instead of somebody that just has the intention of reselling it, right? So that's kind of a gray area where you're just kind of like, the title or the label of calling someone a scalper is really sensitive topic, like, because there could just be legitimate people that own something and they want to sell it at a market value price. Like, let's say they owned it and they enjoyed the doll for X amount of years, but they notice that it's worth a lot more, so then they sell it for a lot more than they paid. At that point, is it just market value or is it scalping? Because you could say the same thing for, and I always go back to this because my old love before dolls was cars. But if you go back to cars, like, my favorite car in the world is an RX-7 FC. A lot of people like the FD model. I like the FC model. And then in 1980s, that sold for like, what, $30,000 at the time, which was a lot given inflation of today's times. But like, you know, if people still have that car today and it's low mileage and it's in good condition, they can turn that $30,000 to like $80,000 or $60,000. Is that called scalping at that point? I think that's just market value and rarity, right? So the label of scalping is very, very touchy subject, and people are so quick to throw that term out. Like if somebody's selling something on a doll forums, like a doll for $1,000, some people might automatically be like, "Oh, you're scalping. That guy's a scalper," or whatever, right? It's a very touchy topic. It's a very sensitive topic. Shiki says, "Can buying service be considered as scalping?" I don't think so. It's a premium buying service like Buy or Sophie Bear or Japan Doll Direct. They're getting something for you that you normally can't get. Like if something's only sold in Japan and in person, like for someone like me, I don't have the money to just go fly to Japan and then go to the event and wait in line in hopes of maybe getting this doll, right? Like that's a big ask for an owner, but especially if you don't have the ability to travel outside of your country. So I don't think that buying services, like a premium buying service where somebody would just go there to buy it for you, I don't really consider that scalping, because what you're paying for is most buying services, right? They'll charge you obviously for the item that you're buying. They charge you a service fee, and the service fee is the amount they charge for going to get it. So for example, let's say the train ride from their house to the event is $10, and then their ticket to get into the event, because you have to buy a ticket to get inside, the ticket is, you know, another $10, right? So then they charge you a service fee of $10, right? But then it goes even higher, because then, you know, to put that item that you wanted to buy in a box, they have to buy the box, they have to buy the tape, the packaging peanuts that go in it, or whatever, the bubble wrap. Then they got to pay the postage. So then they charge you whatever the postage is. So their service fee includes all that, the train ride, the going there, the postage that you're going to pay, and things like that. So and then some places they charge you for their time. Like if they had to wait in line for 2 hours or something, some places will charge you like $10 per hour they have to wait. So if they waited for 3 hours, they'll charge you $30, right? And most buying services will tell you the costs up front, what they charge for and what it all means. So I don't really see that as scalping, more so as a service, you know, more than anything. Dolixer says, "I think buying things to only resell isn't great. Intention is everything." That is true. Like if you're buying with the sole intention just to resell it, that is not good. Maybe you're not a scalper per se, but you're taking away that chance for somebody that really wanted that item, versus you are just buying it so you could resell it to make a profit. Like that, the intentions is kind of bad, right? Like I think so, but maybe that's just me. You know, maybe that's just me. Who knows? Luxaria says, "For me is if you buy a lot just to sell, it's scalping." That's true too. Like if you if it's not a doll, let's say it's a doll accessory, like a hat or an outfit. If you buy like 10 of those outfits with the intention of having one but then selling the other 9, that's kind of like scalping too. So again, this is all really good conversation. I really enjoy this, but we should probably save some of this for another episode. I think we could do a whole episode on secondhand market selling and scalping and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, going back to Click Wars, the only pro I could see, even if you could call it a pro, is bragging rights. That's really it. There is nothing good for the consumer end. Now, I don't know about the business end side of things. I don't know any of that. I've never owned a business. I don't know how it operates. I don't know how things work. But as a consumer, Click Wars are not cool. Like, I don't I don't like Click Wars. They're not cool. For example, let's do a couple examples for Click Wars, right? So Dolphy Dream will have what they call an after event. So for those not familiar, usually dolls or new outfits are released during a Dolpa or a special, outfit event of the month kind of thing. And those are usually, what's it called? Click Wars, right? So like everybody's trying to buy something and it's really difficult to get something, blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to buy on this Click War, and if you get it, great. If you don't get it, that kind of sucks. Now you're kind of lost forever. So the after event is when they have a certain amount held over and then they sell them during that. And usually you get those from Japanese website selling things, and then the leftovers go to Volks USA to be sold in either a lottery or a Click War. And sometimes that could be your second chance. So if you tried to get it in Japanese international website and you couldn't get it then, and if you live in the US, because the thing with Volks USA, I think they only ship to US and Canada. I don't know if they ship to Mexico. I think it's US and Canada only, maybe. But then for people like myself, if I live in the US, I have a second chance to maybe get that item through like a Click War or through a lottery. So I have like 2 chances. So unfortunately, if you live anywhere else in the world, you really only get 1 chance through the Volks International website. So I think that is kind of shady. It kind of sucks for people that don't live in the US or Canada that they don't get a second chance at things. And that's really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I wish there would be other things other avenues for you individuals that live somewhere else, like Christina that lives in Australia, or individuals that live in Indonesia, which was what was it? I forgot who was in Indonesia. I'm so sorry. I'm reading so many messages. Aiko was from Indonesia. So that really sucks that you don't get like a second opportunity. But on the other hand, there are Volks affiliate stores throughout the world that we don't have here in the United States. Our affiliate store, I guess, is Volks USA, but I know Indonesia, I think it is, or Malaysia has, I forgot the name of the store, but there is a shop that is a Volks affiliated shop that carries Volks goods. So you might have another chance there. And I think Europe also has like a Volks affiliated store also. So I mean, those could be your second chances there. I don't really know too much about those stores though, because I'm not from those areas. But yeah, that's one thing. And then I don't know too much about A-Zone Click Wars. I don't know if A-Zone has Click Wars. I assume that they might, but most of the time, whenever I tried personally to buy A-Zone stuff, I've always done it through a pre-order. So I've never actually entered a Click War for A-Zone. I don't know if they have them. And then last but not least is Smart Doll. So Smart Doll is an interesting one that we should talk about. So like I said earlier in the show, Smart Doll used to do pre-orders. They don't do them anymore. I forgot what the reason was, but there was a reason why they don't do pre-orders. It was a long time ago. I can't remember what it was. If somebody remembers in chat, just type it in chat. Dolixer says, bots just make online buying so hard. That's so true. Bots is I hate bots. Everybody hates bots. Luxeria says, I've seen how much these secondhand go for in Mercari, Japanese secondhand website. Oh, probably a lot, I assume. It's kind of like the eBay. Shiki says Volk's Friend Shop. We have one in Singapore. Oh yeah, that's what they're called. Not affiliates. They're called Volk's Friend Shops. You're absolutely right, Shiki. You might have an opportunity getting things there. But let me get a drink of water. Hold on. Let me get a drink of water. So yeah, Smart Doll used to do pre-orders. And like I said, they don't do them anymore. X, Y, and Z reasons. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But what they do now is interesting. So Danny has gone through a different kinds of iterations of how he releases things. So he has an account on Twitter called @SmartDollLand. And if you're not already following it, 100% go on Twitter or create a Twitter account, go on and, click follow for @SmartDollLand and click the notifications for all notifications. So this way you know. So Danny usually what he does is sometimes 24 hours or a day before he releases things, he'll send a tweet out saying that something is coming down the pipe. But he doesn't tell you what. He just says something's coming tomorrow or something's coming later in the week. So that gives you at least an idea that something's coming, but you have no idea it is or when it is. And then usually a couple hours before, sometimes it's an hour before, sometimes it's 5 hours before. There really is no set time limit to it. But sometime before the release, he'll make another tweet saying that I'm going to be releasing goodies in a couple hours or in an hour from now or whatever. Or his usual thing is he'll say sometime soon or sometime in the morning. So it's hard for international buyers because in the morning we don't know what that is for him unless you Google it or you know nowadays we have phones, right? So we have phones. We just have to put in our phone, like the world clock and just add Japan. That's what I did. So I have like Tokyo. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have Tokyo on my clock, so I know what time it is in Tokyo. So he'll say, I'll do a drop in the morning or I'll do a drop in the afternoon. So I'll look at my clock and be like, okay, his morning or his afternoon is when? just so I know when it's coming. So he'll tweet those out and he'll say, I'm going to release something X, Y, and Z. And then when he actually does release something, he's going to tweet out, this is now live on the website. And then he'll include a link and you'll click that link. And that's when it becomes a click war, right? So X amount of people. So whoever knows what's coming and they check their social media all the time, and they have their notifications up for notify me for all notifications, they're on the ready, right? Those individuals are ready for this click war. They're keeping their phone on hand. They're ready to go, waiting for the next tweet to come out. So that's the downside of, like I said before, with click wars, is that all these people are waiting and ready and waiting for this click war to commence. So the minute that Danny Chu posts on Twitter and says, this is now live on the website, click the link, how many people are clicking that link? Probably hundreds, maybe thousands of people are clicking that link that he posted to buy this certain item, right? And then if you don't have a lot of money and you're waiting for a specific item, then here comes the risk, because he'll tweet out things, and I understand why, because Twitter doesn't allow for a lot of things to be posted on one post. So he has to make several posts, right? So he'll post one post saying, oh, this new doll is now live. And then X amount of minutes pass by, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I don't know. However long it takes him to type on Twitter, right? He'll start typing, now these doll frames are online live. And then 5 minutes pass, and he's like, these doll heads are now live. So here's where the risk comes in, right? If you're waiting for doll heads, and doll heads are the last thing that he tweets, but you also want, something else like a doll body, and that's the first thing that he tweets, but you want the head more than the body for whatever reason. Let's just say that. So now you're like, do I jump on this body and buy it now? And then he doesn't release the heads. Now I have a body with no head. So let me wait. So then you wait till he goes to do the heads. And then you're like, oh, he released the heads. I'm going to buy that now. And then you go back and you click on the bodies because you're like, now I got the head. Now I want the body. Then you go back and it's like all the bodies are sold out. and you're like, oh man, now I don't have a body for my head. I got this floating head. So you got to wait till the next announcement of releases, right? So now there's other ways you can remedy this. You could just click and buy the thing that you want the minute that you see it, regardless of what comes afterwards. You could always do that. You can, but here's the other problem. If you buy the first thing that comes up, like let's say it's the body, so you go and you buy that, right? The problem is if you buy that, the process that it takes you to go and click on the item, click on the link, then click on the item to add to cart, then you click. Then he has the questionnaire that says, are you aware that this is, not a perfect product? Is there a warranty or whatever? He asks like a bunch of like checklist questions, right? So you're filling out this questionnaire, filling out the survey. Then you get to the checkout page, and then you're like, I'm going to pay by PayPal or whatever, and you click pay. Then it asks you another set of questions like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Then you click on that. Then you click pay. And then you get the confirmation saying, congratulations, you won this. This is your order number. This is your shipping number, whatever. Then you go back to Twitter. And then by the time you get back to Twitter, he already announced 5 other things, right? So now you're behind. You're like, oh no, he announced this head. Oh, I really want this head too. So then you click on the head, but it's been 3 minutes later or 5 minutes later, whatever, how long it took you to buy the first item. So you click on the head, and then it's sold out already because it took you too long to buy the first item. So now you kind of miss out, and you're just like, oh man, now I missed out on this other thing. Like, God forbid if he lists 5 items and you want all 5 items, right? So it's like, ooh, now you have to really decide. I want all 5 items, but I can't ninja click fast enough to buy them all individually. Now, maybe you can all add them to the same order. I personally have never tried it because... And the reason why I personally have never tried it is because I was always afraid of losing the first item, right? So in theory, this is my theory. And you guys can let me know in the chat if you're watching live, or you could post it in the comment section if you're watching this at a later date. This is my theory. I don't know if it's true because I personally never did it. But if you click on the first tweet that he does and you add it to cart, then you go back to Twitter, see the next thing, and add that to cart, right? And then when he's done listing all the items and you added them all to your cart, can you then hit checkout and buy all those 5 items? Maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe you can. I've never tried it before. But let's say, because I've never tried it, this is all theory crafting, right? This is all assumptions. I don't know if it's true. Let's say you're able to do that and you click on the first link, you add it to cart, you go back to Twitter, you click on the second link, add it to cart, and now you have 5 items in your cart. And then you hit checkout, right? So you answer the questionnaires or whatever, you hit pay, answer the second set of questionnaires, and then you hit pay. And then you get an error message, because I've heard this from other people that sometimes you'll have 5 items in your cart, but by the time you hit the pay button, somebody else has already bought it because maybe they didn't want all 5 items. Maybe they only wanted, the one item. So that, like, let's say you put a body, a head, a hands, an outfit, and another outfit, right? But the head sold out before you hit that pay button. So now you get an error message saying that this one out of the 5 items is sold out. And then you have to go through the whole process, I'm assuming, of removing that item and then hitting pay. And then it says, are you sure you want to pay? Are you sure you want to do this? Blah, blah. And you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then by that time, what if another item sold out by the time you tried to pay? Now you have to go back again and redo it? I don't know. I'm only guessing because I've never personally done it, because I personally have always been afraid that the first item that I wanted was going to sell out. So I always add that one item that I want and I pay it immediately. I go through the prompts, I pay it so that I don't lose out on it and I actually get that item. And then I'll go back to Twitter and look what other items he released, and I'll be like, oh, I want this too, or I want this too. And then I'll click on the link, and if it's still there, great, I'll buy it again. But then sometimes I'll click on the link and it'll say sold out. So that's the one downside of, well, click wars is always a downside, but that's one thing about Smart Doll that can be difficult as a consumer. Like, if you want all 5 of the things that he's tweeted out, it may be difficult for you to get all 5, because obviously there's hundreds of people all trying to get the same item. So by the time you get to the checkout page, if you didn't have good ninja skills to buy everything all at once, then something might be sold out before you actually hit that pay button. So that's one thing. Another thing is that because the only way you know he's releasing something is by Twitter, is that one, you have to have a Twitter account, obviously. If you don't have a Twitter account, then you can't know what's getting released and when. So one, you have to have a Twitter account. And then 2, you have to be awake at the time when he releases things. So for sake of example, you guys know that I'm a huge Chitose fan. I love the OG Chitose. She's my favorite of all the dolls. And one thing that I regret is that when Chitose was released in other skin tone colors, I didn't buy them at the time because I thought that Milk Chitose, the OG Chitose, was all I needed. I didn't really need any other ones. But now, later on in my doll collecting career, my doll life, I'm like, oh, I really wish I had Chitose in all the skin tone colors, right? So Danny started re-releasing just the heads of OG Chitose in different colors, and I'm so thankful for that because I'm so happy to try and get them. So I remember, what was it, last week? Last week he sent out a tweet. Yeah, it was definitely last week because it was Thanksgiving. He sent out a tweet on, I think it was Thanksgiving evening, where he released OG Chitose in Coco, just the head. And I really wanted that because I don't have a Coco Chitose, right? So I really wanted that head. So he released it, I think it was like, a little bit later in the day, maybe in afternoon time in Japan, which for me was like 3 a.m. And, he tweeted out my time, he tweeted it out, I think it was like 9 p.m. or like 10 p.m. my time. I was still awake. So I saw the tweet and it says, be prepared. I'm going to release items soon, right? Or I'll release items. I forgot what he said. Something like I'll release items in the morning or in an hour or two or whatever. I don't know. He put something. So I was ready. I was like, okay, he's going to release something. I can't wait to see what it is because, I may or may not want it depending, what it is or whatever. So like an hour goes by, another hours go by. He didn't tweet anything. And Thanksgiving, at least here in the United States, when you celebrate Thanksgiving, and I know this is particularly just a U.S. thing. I don't think there's any other country celebrates Thanksgiving. I think it's just a U.S. thing. I'm pretty sure it's just a U.S. thing. And so in Thanksgiving here in the United States, we eat a lot of turkey is like the big thing to eat. So I had a lot of turkey. And turkey makes you sleepy. So like he tweeted out like 9-10 p.m. and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And a couple hours go by and I'm just like nodding off. Like, I'm like falling asleep because like that turkey makes you so drowsy and sleepy. So I'm like starting to fall asleep. And then turns out like around, I think it was probably maybe like midnight my time, like around like midnight or 12:30. I think I couldn't take it anymore and I just passed out on the couch and I fell asleep. And then I woke up the next morning on the couch and I look at my Twitter and like all the he released Chitose OG and Coco, which I wasn't expecting, obviously, because he doesn't tell you what he's releasing ahead of time. He released OG Chitose and I missed out on it. I was like, no, I fell asleep. The one time I fall asleep while trying to wait to see what he's going to release, I fell asleep. And, that's just one of the downsides to Click Wars, if you're not always paying attention and checking all your social media outlets, your websites, all these things where things can be released. If you're not on the ball and checking all the time, you might miss out on something for the Click War, right? In my case, I fell asleep. And that's another thing. Like, if things are being released in Japan, depending on where you live, it's a different time zone. So when he tweets out announcements, it could be in your particular time zone in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. Like for Europe, I guess it like if he sends something out in the morning, in Europe it must be at night, right? in Europe, like maybe like 6 p.m., 8 p.m. at night, maybe. I'm guessing. I know if he sends something in the morning, for me, it's nighttime, like around midnight or something like that. And you know, a lot of people are sleeping. Or the West Coast, it might be a little earlier. In the West Coast, it might be like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or something like that. But really, it just depends where you are in the world. It could be during work hours when you're at work and you can't check social media. It could be in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. Like, there's a lot of factors that come into this. So that's one thing that could hamper you if you're trying to participate in a particular click war, is that you don't know when these tweets are going to go out. And I understand why he does it too, because if he announces exactly when it's going to happen, like ahead of time, like if he says Monday and he tweets out on Monday that Friday at 10 p.m. he's going to release something, then that gives the whole click war that Volks has to deal with, where like hundreds of people are waiting, and then it lags the website and things get crazy and people can't buy anything. So by making it random times during the day, random days, random times, it lessens the chances for there to be a lot of lag and a lot of trouble for people to get things during the click war. But the bad side to it is that if you're not available at that particular time when the tweet goes out, then you miss the click war entirely. So obviously in life and in business, you can't please everybody. Like, it's impossible to please everybody. But you try, you know, I assume, because I'm not a business owner, but you try as a business owner to try to release things in the most fair way possible for everybody to have a chance. And sometimes during these click wars for Smart Doll, it's a one-off thing that'll never come back ever again. So if you missed your chance, then that kind of sucks. But most of the time, he'll usually release something, and then it'll be like the first batch. And then like a week later or a month later or a year later, he'll put it back on and he'll be like, oh, I'm going to release this thing. And then it comes up on the tweet and you're like, oh, he's selling these things again. I missed the first time. Now I'm definitely going to get it this time because I was awake, or I was available to click on it at that particular time. So that's click wars for Smart Doll. Hate it or love it, that's the way that he does things. And in some senses it's really fair, in some senses it's really unfortunate. It really just depends, again, on your luck, on time zone, when he tweets it, and your ability to stay focused on all your social media outlets. Well, I shouldn't say all your because with Smart Doll it's only Twitter. So your ability to at least pay attention to Twitter at all times to know when something is going to come out, right? Let's see. Christina Kowald, you said, hope to add to my doll family, which is Melody and Gemini, next week. Hope to get Smart Doll, Curiosity, and Coco. Well, I hope you do too. I hope you get all the dolls that you want, Christina. It is it's definitely a little bit harder nowadays to get the Smart Doll that you want than it was earlier in the Smart Doll lifespan or career. Like, especially if it's like a limited item. But you know, if the doll that you want is a frontline girl, then you know your chances of getting that doll is pretty good. If it's not a frontline girl, then it's kind of wishy-washy, like, because you don't know if you're gonna have the money when the doll that you want is actually released, or if you'll win the click war, or if you'll be available when the click war is announced. There's a lot of factors that go into being able to get the doll that you want at that point. But Melody, that she comes back every now and then as just, I think, a head, right? Just an option head. Gemini will be harder because, you know, the boys are seasonal items and he doesn't make a lot of them. And when they do come out as a seasonal, whenever he announces its availability, you know, that becomes a click war. So just be wary of that. Curiosity, I don't know. Curiosity is probably one of those ones that come in option heads, right? Or maybe he hasn't released it as an option head yet. I don't know. I haven't checked the Smart Doll website option head list in a while. Dolixer says the FOMO capitalization isn't healthy, but it sells. Yeah, it does sell. Like the whole FOMO thing, for those of you that don't know, FOMO is the fear of missing out. So like there may be a doll that you like, from Smart Doll. Like, let's say, I don't know, like, let's say an OG Totose gets released, right? No, that's not a good example because she's super rare. Let's say a new doll that comes out that gets released, whatever new doll that might be, and you like that doll, but you don't like it that much. You're kind of like on the fence, right? So you're like, I like it, but I kind of, she doesn't really speak to me, but I really do like it, but I don't know if I have the money. And you're kind of wishy-washy. You're like back and forth. So the fear of missing out is if that doll is released only once in its life cycle and it's never released again, and you are a little wishy-washy and you're like, maybe I want it, maybe I don't, and you decide to pass on it thinking that it'll come back later, then you find out that it's not coming back, that was the last issue, then you missed out. And then you're like, oh, I missed out on getting the doll I want. So FOMO, the fear of missing out, is like, I want this doll, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to buy it anyways, just in case it never comes back. So then it's terrible because then you have the fear of missing out, but from a business standpoint, that makes you a lot of money, right? Because you're like, oh, well, if I sell things this way, then a lot of people will buy it for the FOMO kind of thing, right? But I don't know. You take it for what you will, really. You take things as they go. I mean, it's a personal preference. You really have to make up in your mind, because these dolls are not the cheapest thing in the world. They have a high bar of entry for this hobby, so you kind of have to like make a personal decision. Do I need to own all the dolls that come out? Do I need to own them? Do I want to own them? Is it necessary to own them all? Maybe I should only just have one, and then just buy a whole bunch of accessories and clothing for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your own personal preference. Like me, I have a bad habit because I'm a collector. I like collecting things, and I fall in love with a lot of the dolls that Danny Chu's releases. He releases so many beautiful, amazing dolls that it's like, I want them all, but I know I can't afford them all, and I know that I have no storage to put all of them anyways. Like, I don't have enough display cases to have every single doll that Danny Chu releases. Like, I just don't have that space or capital. But, sometimes when a doll gets released, sometimes you do get that FOMO. You get that fear of missing out because you now you don't know if it's ever going to come back or whatever. And you're like, maybe I should buy it now and then deal with the consequences later. And then you get into debt. And that could be a bad thing. Luxaria says, I hope they would just refund the amount of the sold out item and no need to do the whole process again. So what you're saying is you're saying during the click war, you would add something to cart, pay for it, and then if you ended up not getting it through the click war, like not winning the click war, that they just refund you the money? That's a bad idea, I think, from a business person standpoint. Like, again, I'm not a business owner. I've never owned a business, so this is my assumption, right? So if I'm a business owner and I allow my website to let everybody add to cart and pay for the item, then it becomes the thing where if I send the email to that person, refund them their money, and say, I'm sorry, this item sold out, so we don't have any more to send to you. Here's your money back. Here's the problem that I see with that is that everybody that's doing the click war is refreshing the page right on time. So if it's going to get released at 10 p.m., everyone's refreshing at 10 p.m. Everybody's adding to cart at 10 p.m. So as the consumer, you're like, oh, I purchased this at 10 p.m. on the dot, or I purchased this at 10:01 on the dot. I definitely got this. But there's thousands of people doing it exactly at 10 p.m., right? So if he only has 100 items, that's 900 people he has to refund. That's also 900 salty people. So you have like 900 people who got an email with a refund, so they got their money back for sure. That's 900 people saying, well, there's no way this could have sold out because I purchased this right at 10 p.m. or I purchased it at 1 minute. There's no way this could have sold out in 1 minute. What number was I on the list? Was I number 2 that purchased it, or was I number 999 within the minute that purchased it? Right? So then people will start criticizing the business. They'll start saying, oh, well, he only sold it to his best friends or his closest friends and he canceled all the other people or whatever, right? Like there's so many things that could go bad with that and go wrong with that, that like I think that would be really bad. And even if there was 100% total honesty and total clarity, like if he says there's only 100 units and when you make a purchase order and you get order number 101 or 105, then you definitely know you're going to get refunded later because your number was there, right? That's still, even if there's 100% transparency and honesty, that's still a lot as a business owner to refund 900 people. Like if there's 1,000 people that bought it and there's only 100 products, that's 900 people that would have to get refunded. So that's 900 people that paid taxes. That's 900 people that got charged. So the business, like Smart Doll, the business would get charged because every credit card payment has a service charge that Danny Chup has to pay in order to use the credit card company, right? So that's 900 service charges he paid for. He refunded 900 people. That service charge for using the credit card doesn't get refunded to him. So that's a huge loss on his side. Like there's no way he would do something like that or any other company. I don't think that would ever work. Shiki says a better way will be for the items that's being added to cart be reserved for 10 minutes, for example. If payment is not made after timeout, the items that have been added to cart will be released for sale. Some websites used to do that. So, or some websites still do that. Here's the problem with that, right? And this is why I think the click war is the way it is now. Is that some websites will allow you to add to cart. Now, the old way, I'm talking years back, the old way was people wanted to buy something, but they didn't have money for it at the time. So they would add it to cart, right? And then just leave it in their cart. And the old school HTML or whatever the programs they use, I'm talking way back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago. Like when you add it to cart, it saved it in your account's cart and nobody else could ever buy it. So let's say there's 1,000 people that want to buy this item and there's only 100 items, right? So if 100 people added it to their cart but didn't have the money to buy it, it stayed in their cart. And I think it stayed for like a month in their cart before it auto refreshed and then it goes back out into the world for other people to buy, right? So that's a whole month people had to wait. Nowadays they've changed things, right? Like some places change it to where, like Shiki says, where like there's a time limit of 10 minutes so that this way you can add things, you know, to your cart. But what if there's bots? See, it doesn't account for bots nowadays. So sometimes bots will add something to cart and then when it becomes available, after those 10 minutes are up and that bot didn't buy it or whatever, it becomes available and then another bot picks it up before somebody else, like an actual buyer, could get to it. And then that holds it in cart. So then like it could be a domino effect of bots holding it in cart for 10 minutes at a time and it just gets crazy, right? But then if you leave it the way it is now, where if it's a click war where, you know, refreshing the page and then paying and then like this whole thing of jamming up the internet service or that ISP service and then not being able to get something because there's too many people trying to get something, that's also bad too, because a lot of people that genuinely wants things can't get it because the internet just sucks and it broke basically because it couldn't handle the influx of all the people trying to get in. The moral of the story is you can't please everybody. There's no way that you can make it a way to please everyone unless somehow you can make a product available all the time for the end of time. So that this way, no matter what year it is, what day it is, what time it is, you will always get this product that you always wanted. It'll always be available. Like until we can reach that level, there's no way you can please everybody. No matter how many times you try to come up with a different way of a click war or a different way of doing a pre-order process, you're never going to please everybody. Because some people even complain during pre-orders. Some people will be like, oh, I missed out on pre-ordering this thing. The pre-order time was too small, right? Like, no joke. I've seen people complain about Volk's 3-month pre-order, that they didn't get to pre-order this doll within that 3-month time because let's say from December, January, and February, the pre-orders are open, right? To pre-order a doll. what if you're new to the hobby, right? You're brand new to the hobby and you found out about this doll in April. That's like 2 months after the pre-orders close. You find out, you just discovered this hobby in April. Sometimes those people go onto forums and they post, oh, well, the pre-order time was too short. I only just found out about this and now I can't purchase this item because they had too short of a pre-order time. And then they're like, oh, Volk sucks because they don't let you pre-order for a whole year or something like that. There will always be somebody out there that will complain. No matter how ridiculous it is, if there are 20 billion people in the world, there's always going to be that one person. Just that one person that's going to complain and say, oh, well, this wasn't fair, for what X, Y, and Z reasons. There's always going to be that one person. Like, there's no way a business can account for everybody and be able to please everybody. It's too difficult. So they have to choose like the lesser of the two evils. Like there's just some way that they're gonna have to choose that's just gonna have to work for their company and hopefully satisfy their customers at the same time, because you just can't please everyone. Christina says, biggest sorry, Danny Chu dropped a Smart Doll Classic Chitose head today. It was sold super fast. Have you ever tried the Smart Doll card so the money is on the card to use when you want a doll? Is it good? I've never tried it. You're talking about like the Smart Doll gift card? Is that what you mean? Like this, or are you just talking like having your card saved on the Smart Doll website so that this way you can just click? I would assume if you have your credit card saved that it'll be quicker. That's my assumption, but I personally have never done it. I pay for my Smart Doll stuff through PayPal. So whenever I buy something from Smart Doll, I click that PayPal button and I go through the normal PayPal steps in order to pay for something. So, I mean, I've never actually tried the save your credit card to the account kind of thing. I don't even know if that's available. Is that available? I think it's available because I think he mentioned that before. I don't know because I never did it. I always pay through PayPal. That's my thing. But yes, he did release Chitose head today in Coco. So good luck to everybody that was able to buy it because it sold out super duper fast. Like, and he said it. He said it in the tweet. He said, what did he say in the tweet? He said something like, OG Chitose Coco head is on sale and it's very limited, and it's limited to the amount of people that said they missed it in the last release. So I don't know how many people said. I know I was one of them. I was one of the people that said, because I like I said earlier, I tweeted out and I said, oh man, the turkey, because it was Thanksgiving, the turkey made me fall asleep and I missed it. I fell asleep through it. So that's one Chitose OG head that was on there. So however many people in total, so like if there was 5 people, if there was 10 people that said, oh, I missed it, or oh, unfortunate, then maybe there was only 10 heads that were for sale, and maybe that's why it went super fast, because there was only like 10 of them or something. So yeah, I mean, that was interesting. I've never seen him say that before, that the amount was based off of how many people said they missed out on it. That was pretty funny. But again, that doesn't help everybody, because there's always going to be somebody that'll say, oh, well, that's not enough. Then, maybe like next time he tweets something, we're just going to spam his Twitter account. like 500 people just spamming, oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it. And now what? Danny has to make like 500 copies the next time he releases? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he just picks different ways to do things so that he doesn't fall into a rhythm or a pattern. Pattern is the best way, because once you fall into a pattern and people learn the pattern, then it's no different from a regular click war. Like once he announces like the announcement, like something will be released this day, this time, that's like the worst click war, because then thousands of people are clicking on that link at one time. So I think the reason why he makes it random is because it lessens the amount of people that enter the click war, thus lessening the chances of lag and internet instability of people unable to purchase something. But the downside to that is that if you're not vigilant enough to check Twitter all the time and basically be awake all the time, especially if you live in a time zone where when he normally tweets it's the middle of the night for you, or when he normally tweets it's the middle of the work day for you, where you can't easily get to your phone, like that's just unfortunate. And so those people, you can't please those people, so it's very difficult to do a release like this where you can please everybody. And he's basically, I'm assuming he's just choosing the less of the two evils, where he thinks would give people the most opportunity to buy something. That's my assumption. I don't know if that's the 100% truth, because obviously, Danny doesn't tell me these things. Like, this is all theory crafting. This is all assuming. I'm just assuming these things. like I talk to Danny every now and then, but he doesn't tell me these things. Like, these are hush hush. Only people in his inner circle know. Like, basically people that work for him. Like, like, I don't know these things. I'm just guessing. I'm literally guessing. Oh, look, I get more bots. This is a good sign. like if I'm getting these pornography sites in chat spamming my chat, they only do that for like really important channels, right? Like channels that have made it. So maybe that's a sign that I'm getting big. That I'm getting these spammers in chat. I don't know. So let's see. Luxeria says, this is why I don't like click wars. Yeah, I know. Nobody likes click wars. I don't know anybody that actually enjoys a click war. I really don't. But it's just something that happens, It's just, you can't do pre-orders for everything, and you just can't please everybody. Like, you just have to do the best that you can as a business to try to see if your product gets out there to as many people as you can and satisfy as many people as you can. But again, you can't satisfy everybody. You can't please everybody. There's always going to be, at the very least, there's always going to be that one person that's going to complain. At the very least, there's only one. But there's never an instance, I don't think there's ever an instance where a company released something, whatever it may be, and absolutely everybody in the world was happy about it. I don't know. Like, I've never done the research to find out if there is. If there is, put it in chat or put it in the comment section. Name one product where literally every person in the world was happy about. I don't think there is. I don't think, because there's always going to be one. There's always going to be, out of 20 billion people, there's always going to be one person that's not going to be happy about it. There's always going to be one. And then you got to also exclude babies, because, babies can't buy anything. They're just babies. Or children that don't have their own money. Like children less than 10. They can't really buy anything because they don't have their own credit cards or whatever. So you get rid of that half of the thing. But even then, there's 20, out of 20 billion, 10 billion people that can buy something. There's still always going to be one person that's not going to be happy about it. Like, there's always gonna, you just can't please everybody. It's impossible to please everybody. Luxeria says, thank goodness there's no click war for the resin dolls that I want. but resin dolls do have click wars, right? There are click wars for resin dolls. I don't really know, because I'm not a resin doll collector, but I assume that there must be a click war. It's just there's no click wars for the ones that you personally want, right? Is that what you're saying, Luxeria? But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, and if you're one of those people that really like business analytics and things like that, it's a very interesting topic to dive into, on how to best get your product out there to get the most satisfied customers. Like, there must be some kind of like thing for that to find out, whatever that may be. Dalixer says there isn't as many click wars in resin. Oh, okay. But they do exist. They do exist, right? There's just not as many. Christina says, so wish we had better doll shows in Australia. No smart dolls or Volks dolls here at all. What do you mean? Oh, so you mean like Volks or Smart Doll traveling to the doll show to sell dolls. Yeah, I mean, I guess there isn't, huh? I don't know anything about Australia, so I don't know if they have like shows where dolls or whatever go to. Um, there are some YouTube channels. I don't know if you guys know some of these individuals, but I think it was the Anime Man on YouTube, Joey. I think there was one video where he said he was talking about like Comic Cons or anime cons, saying how like there isn't many in Australia because he's originally from Australia, and he said like there really isn't much there. I think he said there was like one anime convention in like Sydney or something like that. So I mean, if it's really that scarce, then yeah, that's unfortunate. And like maybe they don't travel there. But then again, Volks or Smart Doll doesn't really travel to many conventions at all, really. Like here in the United States, Volks USA goes to Anime Expo almost every year. Not every single year, but I think almost every year they've been there. And that's because Volks USA headquarters is in California where Anime Expo is held. So it's not really that far of a trip for them to appear there. Volks USA only appeared one time in New York City for Anime NYC 2018, but they never came back after that. And then Smart Doll was there for the first 3 years. So Danny Chu came to Anime NYC 2017, 18, and 19. And he hasn't been back since because, one, the pandemic, but then two, also, I'm not really sure if he is going to come back to Anime NYC at all because I think he said to me that he wants to branch out and try other conventions and give other communities a chance to, see Smart Doll. So New York City was a great place for him to go because it's a big city. Everybody doesn't mind traveling to New York because they could make it into a multiple trip kind of thing. So like if you're not from New York, let's say you're from like California, you could go to New York for Anime NYC, have fun there, but also make it a secondary vacation where you get to tour around the sites in New York City and just enjoy the city. So like it's like a double whammy kind of thing. But I remember talking to him about it, and he said he wants to go to other conventions to show other communities the doll. So I think it was like 2019 where he said he was going to go to Anime Matsuri in Texas, but that got canceled obviously because COVID happened. So, he didn't get to leave. But he did try out other things. He went to Designer Con, which was in New York City also, but that was definitely a different con other than Anime NYC. And I've asked him, if he wants to try going to like other conventions on the East Coast, like Anime Boston or Otakon, which were really big conventions. And he said he'll look into it, but nothing guaranteed. He'll just he's just saying he'll look into it. But I think his intention is to try different conventions at some point so that other communities can enjoy Smart Doll also. But Volks USA, I don't really know if they're going to go anywhere else. As for outside of the United States, like international, I think Volks had a booth in other conventions, right? Like AFA, right? Don't they go to AFA, like the Anime Festival Asia? I think Volks goes to, and I think they go to AFA. Maybe, I don't know. Somebody correct me in chat or in the comment section. But I don't know how many places they travel to, and I don't know. I think Danny did go to an anime convention in Europe also. I believe, I forgot what that's called. Is it WoW Anime or something? There's like a convention in Europe. I think Danny went to one of those. But Volks, yeah, they don't really travel to too many conventions. So getting them out to Australia, I really don't know if they would go there. It's unfortunate, like not a lot of these doll companies go around. And plus, it's not like a huge hobby. Like I'm talking like, let's say Kotobukiya, right? Or Good Smile that makes Nendroids or Figmas. Like the companies that make Nendroids or Figmas are so huge. Like that's a worldwide, like so many people, many more people buy Nendroids and Figmas than they do Dolphy Dreams or Smart Dolls, like way more. So the benefits of these companies going to every single convention all over the world is pretty high because people will buy those things like crazy. But to have like a doll like Smart Doll or Volks go to every single convention all over the world, it's not really feasible for those companies because unfortunately, our beloved hobby of these vinyl dolls or these anime dolls is a very niche hobby. Like, there's not, even though it's growing every year, and even in this year in 2022, the community is so large now. It's still a tiny drop in the bucket compared to, like, Nendroids or Figmas, or like car hobby or things like that. Like, those are still much larger, or comic book conventions. Like, those are just such a much larger fan base that they make a lot of money from going to all these conventions. Luxaria says, if it's not Volks, it's like 1 out of 10 it happens. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine how many Click Wars other companies, resin companies, would do. Christina says, in Australia, it only Sydney. No one wants to come to Perth, other side. What about TV shopping shows? TV shopping shows? Oh, what is that called again? I forgot the name of it, but we have one here in America. I don't know if it's international, but there's like this TV show where you could buy goods. The Home Shopping Network, it's called. It's HSN, Home Shopping Network. We have it here in the United States where, like, they sell things on TV and it's like, call now and purchase this item or something like that. Is that what you're referring to for about TV shopping shows? I'm not really sure. Shiki says Volks themselves hasn't been to AFA for quite a while, but we did have a doll gathering at AFA Singapore just last weekend. That's amazing. I love it when people do that. I personally just did my first impromptu, like, doll meetup at Anime NYC, and we had a pretty decent turnout considering the fact that I tried to organize it like 2 days before or a day before. So it's kind of my fault for being late in organizing it, but we had a pretty good turnout. We had 10 dolls there. We had a couple owners and a lot of people that weren't owners that came out just to, like, check out the dolls and just hang out and talk doll stuff. So it was a lot of fun. I think the next convention I go to, I'll do a better job of trying to coordinate a gathering. But it's so nice that when people have gatherings like that. So it's happy to see that even though Volks doesn't go to AFA, that you still had a doll meetup. That's awesome. I know that Anime Expo in California, there's a doll group out there that always has a doll meetup for Anime Expo, and I'm so jealous because I really, really want to go to one of them, but it's so expensive to get to California. It's so expensive to the point where for a couple $100 I could just go to Japan. Like, like, I'd rather save my money. No offense to the you doll owners in California. It's just, for that amount of money, I'd rather just save up a little bit more and just go to Japan. You know what I mean? I just really want to go back to Japan. I miss Japan so much. Luxaria, doll meetups. Yeah, and you know what? I went to a doll meetup when I was in Japan. You guys will see it when I finally finish doing the vlogs, but I'm going to talk about it to you guys that are watching this now, is that there was a day where a couple people on the doll forums were posting on the doll forums that they were in Japan, and this was during the typhoon, and, like, everybody was added to a Facebook Messenger group. So everybody that posted in the forums saying that they were in Japan right now during the typhoon were added to a Facebook Messenger group. And I'm still part of the group today, and everybody's still there. We still talk and stuff. And it was like a group where we could talk to each other to make sure everybody's safe. So I remember at the very beginning we were tweeting out, like, oh, this area of Tokyo is really bad, or they're evacuating certain places. Come to my house or come to my hotel in this prefecture. You know, you could stay with us. Like, we were really trying to coordinate to try to help each other out. You know, being foreigners in Japan, not being able to understand what's in the news because we don't understand Japanese, we were trying our best to coordinate with each other, making sure that everybody was safe during the typhoon. And it was really nice that the organizer created this messenger group for everybody. So I was part of that. And after the typhoon was over, we were all like, hey, if we're all in Tokyo, let's meet up. So we actually had a doll meetup at Volks in Radio Kaikan, where we all met up and we had our dolls, and we rented out one of those photo booths in Dopa, in Akihabara. We rented one of those photo booths, and we ended up taking pictures and stuff. And it was during Halloween because it was October. So we had a Halloween booth that we rented out to take pictures. And then we all went out and went to get dinner together. It was really a lot of fun. That was a really cool doll meetup, and all of us that met up in Tokyo, we have never met each other before. We were just random people that were posting in a forum that we were in Japan during the excuse me, during the typhoon, and we all met up, and it was one of the coolest meetings ever. Like I met a lot of really cool people that are good friends of mine now, that at least I consider good friends of mine now in the Facebook in that Facebook Messenger group. So that was one thing that was really cool. But doll meetups in general are really awesome. Like I wish we had more doll meetups, at least where I live. I know there are big communities in other places. I've heard that South Carolina in the United States has a big meetup. California has a big group of people. I think Texas has a big group of people. And I know there's a lot of people near where I live in New Jersey and New York City area, because when Danny Chu came out for Anime NYC, we had at least 100 people, or at least over 200 people come out to meet him and say hi to him. So I know there's people in the area, but when we post, when the organizers post that there's a New York City meet or a New Jersey meet or whatever, we only really get like 5-10 people at most that show up, which is still great, because it's still great to be able to meet people and talk to people. But it's I wish we could get a large group of people. Like that would be so awesome. But yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll organize something, a doll meetup in the future. I think that would be really cool. Shiki says, one of our guys managed to book a booth for us to display our dolls and maybe create more awareness at the Singapore Comic-Con that's happening next weekend. That would be nice. Like, it's definitely hard and a lot of work to organize an event like that or organize a meetup, but if you are willing to put in the work, or somebody else is willing to put in the work, it'll be awesome. Because I think the more we do that and we have more interactions between other doll owners, I feel like the more we can grow our doll family. I really believe that. I'm all for the doll family. Like, I'm 100% in favor of growing this doll family of ours all over the world. Like, everybody, I feel, needs to be exposed to these beautiful dolls, and this wonderful hobby that we are a part of. I really, really want this community to grow, and I'm happy it's growing. It's growing leaps and bounds every year, so it's very, very encouraging. Christina says, heads up, Danny just dropped extra large bust in 3 colors with the headlights. Yes, I saw that tweet. That he posted. So if you're interested in getting busts, definitely check it out right now. Luxaria started this hobby when Corona started, so I haven't experienced any doll meetups. Oh, that's unfortunate. But there should be some doll meetups coming up, right? Because you're in Japan, so there should be some. Actually, you're in Japan, right, Luxaria, you said? Today was Idol Festival. So if you're not familiar, there's a thing that happens I think it's mostly in Japan, but it's called Idol Festival. It happens in Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka. I think it happens once a year in Singapore. I think Singapore has an Idol Festival. And I think there's an Idol Festival in Malaysia also. But anyways, it happens like throughout the year. And it's basically a huge convention where they sell doll goods, like outfits, accessories, even dolls, like a whole bunch of stuff. And it actually took place today in Japan, because I got the tweet. Some of the vendors that I follow tweeted out that they're all sold out right now of everything that they were selling at the event, that they're all sold out. Yeah, so like I think it's happening today. But if you want to meet a lot of doll people and you live in Japan, Luxaria, definitely go on the internet and type in iDoll Festival. That's I-Doll Festival. And I don't know what the URL is in Japanese. Like if you type it in katakana, hiragana, or whatever. I don't know what it is if you type it in that, but I know in English it's called iDoll Festival. And if you live in Japan, that's definitely one of the things that you got to go check out for sure. My trip to Japan back in 2019 was based off of the iDoll Festival. I went 100% because during that time, I went at the time that I went because the iDoll Festival was happening during that time. So I went then, and then the typhoon happened and they canceled the iDoll Festival, so I never got a chance to go. So my next trip to Japan, I'm definitely gonna plan around the next Idol festival that I can go to. Oh, I can't understand and speak Japanese. Just basic like greetings. Oh, okay. So yeah, if you're living in Japan though, at least you can still have the opportunity to go. So go on the website, Google iDoll Festival, and see when the next doll festival is going to be near where you live. So the Tokyo one just happened today. So the next one I think is Nagoya. I think is the next one, or Osaka. No, I think Nagoya is the next one because Osaka one I think is in October. But definitely check it out. You're gonna meet a lot of doll people there. Also in Japan, I know we're this for the past half an hour. We've been getting way off topic because we were supposed to be talking about. Well, we're done. We talked about pre-orders and click wars for a long time, so we pretty much covered everything. If you guys missed it, definitely watch the video on demand later. Watch the VODs later after this is over. But yeah, if you're living in Japan, Luxaria, one of the things I would recommend you to do is go to a doll cafe. They have cafes in Japan where it's literally set up for dolls. So like you go in there, you know, you could buy pastries and coffee and drink them, but you also display the doll on your table. They some cafes have booths, like little photo booths where you can take pictures of your dolls also. But it's a great hangout place for doll owners. I went to one that's in Osaka. When I was in Osaka, there's one called Cadre Dior. So that's Cadre space D apostrophe OR. It's like a French kind of name, Cadre Dior. And I went there, and that's when I found out the doll festival was closed because I went there to go and check it out, and I was drinking coffee with my chitose, and a whole bunch of other people came in, started displaying their dolls. Now they were all Japanese people, so they were all talking in Japanese. I couldn't understand a word Japanese, but I know that they were there for the iDoll festival like I was, because when iDoll tweeted out on Twitter that they were canceling it because of the typhoon, everyone's phone in that cafe was started ringing at the same time. All of our phones were ringing, and we all picked our phones, and I was like, oh no. And then I could hear all the Japanese people in there going like, ah, you know, like they and everybody was talking about how the iDoll festival was canceled. I'm assuming, I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I'm assuming they were all talking about how it was canceled. But it's a great experience. I don't know any Tokyo ones, but I did hear that there is a Tokyo one. You just have to kind of Google it and look for it. But the Osaka one that I went to is called Cadre Dior. The old location they were at, I heard, closed down, and they moved to a bigger location to hold more people. But if you're living in Japan, that's definitely a cool place you need to check out. Check out. Go to a doll cafe. That would be really awesome. You need to do that. But yeah, that's that's everything pretty much. We've talked about everything in today's topic for pre-orders and click wars. If I missed anything, if there's anything in addition you want to address, I'll leave it open for questions right now. Even though I've been kind of answering questions and talking to you guys throughout this whole episode today, but if anyone has any extra questions they want to ask, or any topics they want to talk about in relation to click wars or pre-orders, let me know. Obviously the chat has a little bit of a delay, so I'm gonna get a sip of my water while you guys decide if you're gonna ask something or not, and then we'll move on to the last part of the episode. Oh, anything? No, everybody's good. It looks like everybody's good. Okay, not a problem. Let's see here. All right, so we're gonna move on because we're already at 2.5 hours. Wow, I really thought today's episode was gonna be an hour and a half because I didn't think that there was going to be that much to talk about for pre-orders and click wars, but but we kind of got in a lot of tangents in today's episodes. We definitely went in a lot of different directions. So let me go to our last part of today's episode. So let me change the screens here. I want to go for Shizusan's Anime Corner. I haven't done a Dream Doll segment in a long time because there really isn't. I mean, there could be a plethora of Dream Dolls to talk about, but I didn't really have any that I could think about for today's episode. because I really much I touched on like a lot of the ones that I really wanted to happen, like your, which apparently Dolphy Dream is releasing. Yours gonna be a click war, just FYI. Any dolls you want or are looking forward to? I do want your, but I don't have enough money right now for your. I really want your, but I just don't have the funds. I just don't have the funds to buy her. But she will be a click war. She's not a pre-order project. As well as Arcoid is also going to be a click war coming out this December. Was it December 18th? Right? Is Dolpa this year? So that'll be a click war, and then the after event is not going to be in probably until August until January sometime. So that's going to be a click war. So good luck on that. If you're trying to go for any of those dolls, but yeah, your was one. Is there any future dolls like there's like I wish there's a lot of dolls I wish they made, but I think the dolls that I would like made, I would probably have to custom make because I don't think any company is really gonna go for them. For example, like there's this show that I've been really getting into. It's a very popular show. A lot of people like it. It's called Overlord. I really enjoy the show. I would like an Albedo doll. I think that would be really cool to have Albedo because I love Albedo. But I don't think that'll happen because it's not because the IP isn't popular. I just don't know if the character that I want would, because it's one of the most popular characters in the series, but I don't know if Volks would make that character. Maybe they will. If they will, I would definitely be interested. Or like I really like Rent a Girlfriend. A Chizuru character would be absolutely amazing. I would love a Chizuru. Any other dolls that I've been looking forward to? No, those are the main ones I would like to see. Since your was already announced, those two I would like to see. Chizuru or Albedo would be really awesome. I would love to see any of those. But yeah, let's talk about Anime Corner. So there's one show that I just finished watching. I know I'm a little late to the game because it was last season. But I just saw this show. I really enjoy it. And you know what? I would like a doll of this one too. So let's go and click on that. So Licorice Recoil. How many of you have watched Licorice Recoil? I really like this show. It's a really good show. It's a little violent. It's not like 100% mature rating. I would say TV 14. It's essentially what it is. It's a show about how best to put it, like mercenaries. Let's just say that, like mercenaries, but they're mercenaries that protect Tokyo. Let's say that. I don't want to give too much away, but you know, guns are involved because they're mercenaries, right? And this one particular mercenary, the one in the red here, which is named Chisato, she's a mercenary that doesn't want to kill people. Like she refuses to kill people. And Takina, which is the one in blue with the black hair there, she's the opposite. It's not that she wants to kill people, but she knows her job as a mercenary is essentially to kill the target, whoever the target may be. And she's paired up with Chisato, who's somebody that doesn't want to kill anybody. So it's really interesting. But the show itself is not serious. Like, it's not like a super serious show about mercenaries and assassins and killing people. It's more about the daily life between Chisato and Takina. And it's like a slice of life show with some action to it. There's a lot of comedy in it. It's really funny. The dynamic between the two main characters is super cool. Like, I like their chemistry between them. But it's a really fun show. I highly recommend it if you like things that are slice of life with action to it. Then you'll like Licorice Recoil. It's really cute. It's a very cute show, fun show. Like I said, there is some violence to it though because they are mercenaries, for lack of a better word. But it's pretty good. So I highly recommend it. Would I like a doll of Chisato or Takina? Absolutely. If a company would like to do a Chisato or Takina, I'm on board with that. I would definitely want one. Huge fan of the show. I actually, you guys are gonna laugh at me. I actually found out that they were releasing a Licorice Recoil bomber jacket, like you know those jackets that pilots wear, like aviator pilots wear. They released an aviator pilot jacket of Licorice Recoil. It's a black leather jacket, with the Licorice Recoil badge on it, and on the it has the badge in the front. It has like the airplane pilot sleeves with the zipper, and it has like little airplane tag that says remove before taking flight or something like that. And then the back of the jacket says Licorice Recoil, and I bought it. I bought it. I'm a huge fan of the show, and when I saw that jacket, I was like, I want to wear that. I would wear that every day to work. I don't care what my coworkers say. I would wear that every day to work. And they also released a Licorice Recoil military backpack thing. It's like a black backpack with like the mylar in the front, so you can attach different things to it, and like it has Licorice Recoil written all over it, and you could buy Licorice Recoil badges and attach it to the backpack. And yeah, I ended up buying that too. So like it suffice to say, I really like this show. I really like Licorice Recoil a lot, and it's not like a long show. It's only 12 episodes. It is getting a second season, I think. I think it's getting another second season. So if you really wanted something to binge watch, it's only 12 episodes, and I think you would enjoy it if you like those type of shows that are like kind of slice of life comedy, but a little bit of action on the side too. Christina Kowal says, biggest fan of the Ancient Magus Bride Part 1 and 2, the 3-part coming. Oh, Magus Bride I've always wanted to watch, actually. I have it on my queue. Like, I have it on my queue, I just haven't actually watched it yet. So I will make more of an effort to get that off my queue and watch it now, Christina, with your recommendation. I'll watch Magus Bride. But it looked really interesting. That's why I put it on my queue. I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, so that's about it. That's it for Anime Corner. I highly recommend Licorice Recoil. I think it's a really great show. But if you guys have any anime recommendations for me, let me know in the chat or in the comment section, because I'm always up for finding like a new show to watch and checking out new shows. So yeah, that's everything. Pretty long show for a solo show. I don't normally go this long when it's just me. Usually it goes longer because I have guests, because I like talking with the guests and we get on tangents and stuff. But today I got on a really big tangent today with you guys in chat on the live stream. Thank you for coming, everybody, to the live stream. I really appreciate it. I had a fun time talking with everybody in chat. We had a really good conversation today. I thought it was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. So let me bring out my little helper here. Oh, my cute little moment. Like I said, she's going to get a lot of screen time because she's been neglected for almost 3 years of sitting in a box. So my cute little moment. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming. This is the end of episode 14 of Beyond the Doll. As always, I'm your host Shizusan, and my lovely assistant here is Moment and T. Next week we should be back on schedule with the Doll Symposium. There's a lot to cover since we missed like 3 weeks, so it might be a heavily loaded episode. And then I believe it's, let me check the calendar. I believe, yeah, December 17th is going to be the last episode of Beyond the Doll for the year, obviously. We'll come back in 2023, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break for the holidays. So I'm looking at the calendar. So after the 17th is the 31st of December, which is when Doll Symposium, Beyond the Doll live show is supposed to be, but that's New Year's Eve. So there will be no episode that week. There will also be no Doll Symposium on the 24th, as that's Christmas Eve. So for those 2 weeks, there'll be radio silence for me. There'll be nothing on YouTube because I want to take time out to be with my family and spend good family time for those 2 weeks and just relax. So the 10th, which is next week, is the next episode, Doll Symposium, and the 17th is the last episode of the year. And then we'll be back on January 7th of 2023. So just to let you guys know, I'll also mention it in next week's episode of Doll Symposium that I'm going to be taking that small break during the holidays. But if I don't see you guys before the holiday starts, happy holidays to everyone. Hope you have a good year, and hopefully your 2022 was pretty good for you. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you. I can't say this enough. Thank you everybody that turns out to the live stream and participates. I really appreciate it, and I have so much fun talking with you guys. It's so awesome. And for those of you that are watching this at a later date, leave me a comment in the comment section. If there's anything you want to discuss with me, I'll chat with you in the comment section. But again, thank you everybody for coming. This has been a blast. Had a lot of fun today's episode talking about stuff. So I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.